Streaming. All right, we might be live.
And we are live. It's loading. It's just a black screen right now. Oh. And we're live. Let's go.
It's not for me yet.
I have it live on the YouTube thing.
Oh, seriously? Okay.
Yeah. But it's on private.
Oh, that's why.
Here, I can change it to public, I think. I think it's public. It's now public.
Yep.
So,
Let's see if we can hear each other. All right, let's do a mic check, Connor. Let's see if we can hear each other.
check. Check.
Let's do a mic check, Connor. Let's see if we can hear each other.
Check.
Yep.
Check.
Yep. It's working. Okay, we're good.
Yeah. We did it.
Yeah, I keep
Somehow.
trying to turn the volume down on my laptop now, but I can't. It's not letting me. So we finally get the stream to work, but
Yeah.
now for some reason the volume off, volume up, and volume down buttons on my laptop aren't working. So it's
That's
not
a
good.
problem.
That is a big problem. Luckily,
Can
you're not.
Mute the YouTube video.
I'm not listening to the YouTube video
Oh, then why is this an issue?
because you're in my ears. That's why I can't turn you down at all.
Wait, so you're getting two of me or just one of me?
Just one of you, but it's still like I still can't turn the volume down.
Am I too loud for you?
A little, like I would like it a little bit lower, but it's fine.
How's this? Is this better?
I can't tell a difference. It's okay. Let's do this thing.
Okay, how about this?
Yeah, that seems pretty good.
Okay, let me make sure this volume is good for the show. Can't tell a difference, okay.
Just trial and error, everybody. But
Yes. 2 hours of trial and error.
but we finally got it to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll start the show, I think, in 1 minute.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
Sure.
And I will intro us as usual.
I don't think we can edit this video too, so like us talking right now will be kept
I
in.
think you can.
You can?
I think
Okay.
you can edit it, yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully. All right, let's go. In 3, 2, 1. And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Big League Show. As always, I'm Connor Somerville, joined by Aiden Silliphant, and it's been a long time since I have been able to say, and we are live, and it feels good to say. We're finally streaming. This has taken us like 2 hours to figure out. We're preparing for next week because we'll be making our return to Spirit Live. Unfortunately, they had a couple of issues, I guess, with streaming today. But it feels good to be back. How are you doing, Aiden?
I'm doing good. It does feel good to be back. You're right. And yeah, hopefully we can figure this stuff out again next week and there's no problems. And yeah, hopefully the live stream is back up for spiritlive.ca and we're good to go for next week. But hey, we've been trying to figure this live stream out since like what 1:30, around 1:30, and it's now 4:13 and we're finally going live. So feels good. And now we can just focus on the sports that we want to talk about. So there's a lot that happened.
Yeah, hopefully we can get through all of it because there's quite a bit to get to. We should also mention that this week we're not having a guest on to basically get all this stuff set up. Hopefully we'll have one on next week.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's been crazy trying to figure all this stuff out. And if you want to talk to us in the chat, feel free. We'd love to hear from you. But let's, I guess, just get right into everything. Do you want to start with basketball? we can sort of leave hockey for the end because that's basically going to be this entire show.
Yeah, sure. Also, I'm just trying to pull up the notes. I haven't pulled up the notes yet. Where are the notes? I don't know if
They should still be in the Google Doc.
Is it?
Or in the Google Drive.
I don't know why I can't find it.
Episode 18.
So.
Which, yes, in quarantine, this is our 18th episode.
Oh, okay, I see it now.
Which has been quite the experience, I'd say, using Zoom and sort of cutting it all up and finally figuring out how to actually use Discord because that doesn't have a time limit for us.
Yes.
And that's great because we can finally do this in putting our show live, which is where we've sort of wanted it to be. But we'll start off with basketball, which if you've been living under a rock, the LA Lakers are now NBA champions. LeBron got his 4th ring. Danny Green got his 3rd. JaVale McGee got another. Dwight Howard, Rajon Rondo. It was Jared Dudley as well. He's a big part of that team, sort of. But finally got their rings and finally got another chip for the Lakers. And a pretty good year to do it, considering this was the year that, unfortunately, Kobe and his daughter Gianna, as well as 7 others, were killed in a helicopter crash. So it felt sort of poetic, I'd say, to see them win the NBA title.
Yes. It's the perfect way to end off the season. Everything that happened this year, and like they did it for Kobe, and I think a lot of people kind of were pulling for the Lakers as soon as you hear the news that he passes away, and you try and look ahead to the future, and you start thinking to yourself like, okay, it would be so nice if the Lakers won a championship this year for him. And then you look at the roster and how talented it is and how well that they did, in the regular season, and then the dominance that they showed in the bubble. It's looking like it's actually going to happen. They're going to actually win this thing. And then for them to handle the Heat in 6 games is pretty impressive because the Heat looked, borderline unstoppable in the bubble as well. Jimmy Butler was great. So yeah, it is like the perfect storybook ending to everything that happened this year, and it was definitely weird seeing the celebration without any fans and like the crowd noise in the background, but it was still very special. And yeah, shout out to LeBron. He's the GOAT, 4 championships now. That's pretty crazy. And yeah, big respect to the Lakers. They were clearly the best team this year.
Yeah, they were just above everyone else. Once the Clippers went out in the West, it was basically all going to be Lakers that for the rest of the way. Denver put up a bit of a fight, but really the Lakers are just a tier above everyone else apart from the Clippers. And you got to give it to the Heat. They put in an unbelievable performance to push this series to 6 games with Bam Adebayo hurt and Goran Dragic on 1 foot, basically. He managed to play somehow in Game 6, but yeah, it was a crazy, crazy good run by the Heat. Jimmy Butler's incredible as well.
Yes, he's so good. I think, looking at last year, right, and his performance with the 76ers, he kind of flew under the radar a little bit. People were saying that, okay, he might not be able to carry a team because if you look at that team, Embiid, Simmons, and Butler, like you'd expect them to do better. And I know they pushed the Raptors to 7 games and the Raptors ended up winning. So I guess they are a very good team still. But then when Butler goes on his own to Miami, he has some help obviously, but he is clearly the best player there. He just took his game to another level. Like we didn't see these kind of performances when he was on the 76ers. He just wanted to lead his team, and he wanted to prove everyone wrong. And I mean, he was obviously disappointed that he couldn't get the job done in the end. But I think he went on Twitter after. He's like, "Yeah, I still promise that I'm going to bring a championship here." And I'm sure he's going to get it. He's going to get it at some point soon now. And the Heat have a very bright future. They have a younger team. And they have the veterans as well. They have a good mix. and Butler's at the forefront of it. So they're going to be in the running for many years to come, in my opinion.
Yeah, Tyler Harrow had an unbelievable playoffs. Duncan Robinson was incredible as well. You look at guys like Bam Adebayo, who exploded onto the scene this season, and how successful he was. This is a team that's going to be good for at least the next few years. And Jimmy Butler's going to be a key part of that, and his entire, I guess, mantra of just how hard he works and what he puts into making the Heat and himself what he is. And it's really, really impressive to see just how he's turned this team, who last season weren't great, into a team that are pretty respected. Like, people respect them now. And you got to honor how, and really I've used respect a lot in this little segment, but respect what they did in the bubble and in that really, really difficult circumstance. And I just want to say I'm really looking forward to the JaVale McGee vlog from the NBA Finals, because I think that's going to be amazing. But do you have anything you want to add to the NBA?
Not really. I don't think there's anything I want to touch on now.
Oh, actually, there is something we should. Ron was named the MVP.
Yeah, we should mention that.
Yeah, it's some little kind of small news.
He's never not gotten it. Every time his team has won, he's been the MVP. You there?
Yes, sorry.
All right.
My headphones just had an issue.
Okay.
But yeah, he's incredible. I think that's the best way to put it, honestly. Someone who I respect immensely in LeBron. It could have gone to AD. I could have seen the argument for that. But ultimately, I think choosing LeBron was probably the best decision and the one that made the most sense for the finals with how well he played. But yeah, I think it was a toss-up between the two of them, personally.
Yeah, I mean, it could have gone to either of them, but I think, just because it's LeBron James, and like, if you don't give him the Finals MVP trophy, there's going to be a lot of people in arms, I think. So I think, and clearly, like, he was the guy. I think he was the guy that took his game to another level when he had to. And I'm sure AD is going to win another championship, and he's going to have another shot at MVP one day. But if LeBron is on your team, it's very difficult to beat him in that trophy race. So, I mean, I can't really complain that the league gave it to LeBron again. That's kind of an easy decision, I guess.
It's like the obvious decision.
Yeah.
The one that made the most sense and probably pissed the least amount of people off.
Exactly, yeah.
But yeah, it's good for him. He's had a crazy, crazy good career. It's the debates between who the MVP or who the GOAT is, between him and MJ, have popped up again. But I saw somebody, I can't remember who it was, so apologies to this person, but I saw them say GOAT shouldn't be spelled G-O-A-T. It should be spelled G-O-T-E. Do you get why?
Greatest of
their era.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because it's very difficult to judge talent across different eras, right?
Definitely. I mean, yeah,
So,
Wayne Gretzky, like.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like Wayne Gretzky in today's NHL would not do, like he
would do nothing.
Crack the ECHL, in the NHL, because he couldn't raise the puck. But yeah, I like that sort of analogy in terms of GOTE instead of GOAT. I thought that fit really well, and it sort of fits and sort of ends the debate, I guess.
Yeah.
In terms of who the greatest of all time is, because it's so hard to judge based on era and based on statistics and everything along those lines.
Yeah, it's a more fair way to look at it, but I still think the GOAT conversations or the GOAT conversations will carry on, because obviously, like, there's so many fans that still want to argue that LeBron is the GOAT, and then there's people who, the older generation, I guess, that say that Jordan's the GOAT. I don't see us settling on the whole GOTE thing anytime soon. I still think there's going to be so many people just still having the debate.
Yeah, that debate will never end.
Yeah.
As long as we live, honestly. But do you have anything else you want to add to the NBA discussion, or should we move on to the NFL?
I'm down to move on to some NFL.
All right, you take this, because some of this news was A, shocking, and B, kind of sad in the case of Prescott.
I gotta look at what you put. Oh yeah, okay. I guess we can start with Dak. Like, I didn't watch it live, but as soon as I get the report that he's being stretched off the field, like, I feel for the Cowboys fans because of everything they had to go through this year so far. It's been a really tough season for them, and Dak had been like the only bright spot. Like, he's putting up MVP numbers. Like, he's the best quarterback in the league so far this year. From a fantasy perspective, he's ranked number 1 out of everybody, which I don't think anyone would have thought from Dak, but he surprised us a lot. And the injury was just gruesome. Like, it's like Gordon Hayward part 2. It's a tough one to watch. I don't recommend anybody go watch the highlights of that. But then it was just an emotional scene afterwards. He was in tears. A bunch of the Cowboys players surrounding him as he was getting taken off the field. He holds up a fist to Cowboys Nation, showing that he's going to be okay. And he's out 4 to 6 months now after surgery. So Andy Dalton came in and they got the win as well in that game, which was huge. They did it for Dak. But it's a tough one. Like, these injuries happen in sports all the time. We see it like at least once per year. There's a big injury like that to a star player. So it sucks. It sucks for the Cowboys, and hopefully Dak is better soon, and has a good recovery, and then a good off season, and then he'll be back for next year. Better than ever, and the Cowboys do well again. But I think we were even talking about it when the Cowboys signed Dalton. Like, why would the Cowboys want to sign him? Like, this is why. If Dak ever got injured, they have a guy in Andy Dalton who can step in and win you football games. No, he's not the greatest, but he can definitely give you a good shot at winning a game every week. And with the Cowboys offense, CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Gallup, they have the offense, they have the weapons on the outside to score touchdowns and get points. The problem is the defense, so the defense has to hold up. I think the Cowboys will be okay. They've obviously gotten off to a rough start, but I could still see them finishing around 500, maybe sneaking into the playoffs. Probably not. It's going to be a long shot now. But, I guess just all the best to Dak moving forward, and all the best to the Cowboys.
Yeah, it's a big blow to them. Fortunately, they did bring in a fairly decent QB in Andy Dalton.
Mm-hmm.
So their offense should be okay at least, but it's definitely a huge loss. It'll be interesting to see whether or not Le'Veon Bell becomes an option there, because he was just released by the New York Jets for some reason.
Yeah, that was a weird one because, first of all, the Jets are awful. I don't think they've won a game yet this year, and they should fire their coach. I don't know how he's lasted through week 5. Bell, I don't think he's going to go to the Cowboys. Like, they already have Elliott, and they have so much talent on the offense already. They don't really need another running back, because I don't think Zeke would like that at all if they had to split carries, or if some of his carries are now going to Le'Veon. He's not going to like that, and then you don't want to stir up the pot. There's obviously so much going on in Dallas already that's just going to add to it. So I don't see them going after him. I don't really know what team could benefit from him. Being a Lions fan, you always want them to go after a running back, but I don't know about this year. Like they have three good guys. They have Peterson. They have DeAndre Swift and Kerryon Johnson, and like none of them are great. And Bell would clearly be the better option for them. But at the same time, like Kerryon and DeAndre are still very young, so you might want to give them more reps. I think Le'Veon's definitely going to sign somewhere. I could see him going to the Giants just because Saquon Barkley is out for the whole year. And yeah, they signed Devontae Freeman, who's the ex-Atlanta Falcons running back. But he hasn't been anything special yet. But I could see Bell going there, and then they have a pretty good tandem of Bell, Freeman, and then I believe they have another decent running back as well. So that could be a pretty good combination. But it's not going to make like a drastic change to the Giants' offense. Like they're still not the greatest team on paper or on the field. So yeah. I don't know. Like the Jets, I think they're just kind of blowing it up at this point. They're one of the worst teams in the league. They're tanking for Trevor Lawrence. Why not get rid of your best player to help with that?
Yeah, I guess that's true. There were rumors. I think Adam Schefter was the one who said that initially. But there were rumors that they've been trying to trade him for the past like season.
Yeah.
And it's just nobody's been willing to take him. So they finally just said, we're done here, and released him. But I don't know. It's definitely helping with their tank. That's for sure. When you let go of a player of how good he is, I guess it's sort of bound to happen that they're going to tank. And honestly, that's probably their best bet right now because they have no one good.
Yeah. Like, everybody thought they were going to turn it around when they drafted Sam Darnold, their quarterback. I think that was maybe 3 years ago now. But it just hasn't worked out. And you hire a guy who used to work for the Miami Dolphins. That's never a good signing. So, yeah, they get him. I think Gase will be fired next week if they lose. I think a lot of coaches are going to be fired. I think Patricia on the Lions, I said it on the Rain episode. I definitely think he's going to be fired before the trade deadline. The Texans, they already fired their coach. They didn't waste any time. So I do expect to see some firings ahead of the trade deadline, which is, I think, week 7 or 8. I can look that up quickly. But definitely before the trade deadline, I think there will be at least 3 coach firings.
Well, there was already one firing last week in the Atlanta Falcons fired their head coach.
Oh, yeah, right, exactly. It was Quinn.
Starting to see,
Quinn.
Yeah, and I believe the Texans did it a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
So you've already seen 2, and with how bad the Jets are, and how I think that relationship between Le'Veon Bell and the coach was pretty bad. So that maybe potentially had a bit to do with it. But yeah, it's just hopefully Le'Veon finds himself a better situation than the Jets. Although as long as he's not going to the Dolphins, that's probably going to happen. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see which team he goes with, though, and which team actually pursues him.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll say the Giants right now. Yeah, I don't really know who else. Like maybe like Washington, they could go after him. New England potentially. New England might be a dark horse for him.
I did see that name get thrown out there a little bit.
Yeah, I mean they already have James White and Sonny Michel and Rex Burkhead, but Bell would be the better option. And I mean, I think the Patriots normally always get these guys who hit the market, like Antonio Brown last year. Maybe they sign another ex-Steeler potentially.
Cam Newton they've gotten in the past too.
Exactly, yeah.
And he's turned out really good for them. They've had some nice success with Newton, which
Hmm.
I think everybody saw coming. So
Too bad he has COVID right
yes,
now, but he'll be
very true.
he'll be back
Yeah,
in a week or so.
yeah, he has COVID. Like 90% of the Titans have, or it's the Titans, right?
Yep.
Tennessee Titans.
Yep. And they won. They won last
Like
night.
20 of them have COVID.
Yeah. And I don't think they were
Somehow.
practicing at all last week. But then they put up, I think it was 41 points against the Bills last night. So I think the NFL might have to investigate into that a little bit. Or sorry, 42 points. They won 42-16 against the Bills, who were 4-0 heading into the game. And the Titans are now 4-0. The Titans are very good. You know, don't sleep on the Titans. Don't sleep on the Titans and Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry. They're a dark horse to win the AFC again, I'd say.
Yeah, it'd be quite the comeback, considering the COVID cases that they have right now, and getting all those players back to full fitness and full health. You could compare it potentially to the Tampa Bay Lightning and how they had the COVID cases back in July, and then somehow, or not somehow, they just destroyed the rest of the league en route to a Stanley Cup. So we'll see whether or not the Titans can continue to keep this run of form. I keep bringing in these soccer references, but we'll see whether or not they can keep this form and they can keep just motoring on, even though half their team has COVID. But let's move on to what a majority of our show is going to be about today, and that is hockey. A lot of hockey news has happened. We'll do the NHL in a second. I wanted to begin with something that I don't think very many people paid attention to or noticed. I don't know if you saw this break yesterday, or it broke technically 2 days ago, was announced yesterday. But the NWHL is undergoing some serious reconstructing, or restructuring, I should say. Commissioner Danny Ryland Kearney, who founded the league back in 2015, I believe, she is stepping down from her role as commissioner and joining a group of, I guess she's heading up a group that's going to look to sell the 4 teams that are still owned by the league. Because previously in the old setup, the NWHL had owned all the teams apart from the I think it was Boston. Boston Pride, and now the Toronto Six, who are owned by the same person who owns the Boston Pride. Which
Right.
You can find my thoughts on that in later podcasts, but I'm not a fan. It's a very interesting situation. So she's stepping down. They're restructuring to a similar system as the NHL, the MLB, and I think it's the NFL have, in that it's a board of governors. So they do votes and meetings and all stuff like that, as opposed to having one figurehead make all the decisions, which in the previous case with the NWHL had been Danny Ryland, Danny Ryland Kearney now. She got married over the summer. But I'm a huge fan of this move.
Yeah.
I should actually, before we get to my thoughts on it, Tyler Taminia, I believe is how you pronounce her last name. She's taking over as commissioner, interim commissioner. She was formerly the chairman of the Toronto Six, which is the new NWHL team that's coming to Toronto. And she was also the senior VP of Gold Kang Group, which basically she oversaw 5 minor league baseball teams for that group.
Wow.
And she has some serious experience. I was doing some research, and weird fun fact, she's married to, I believe, the Pittsburgh Pirates GM.
Okay.
But she's very experienced. I believe her dad was a scout as well in baseball. So she's coming from a very baseball-heavy background, which hopefully will help in this situation as she gets into the NWHL and into hockey and into running that sort of ownership group, I guess, that sort of organization, and looking to expand or find a new commissioner. But I love this move. I think this is great. I'm not a Danny Ryland fan. I should make that clear from the get-go.
Ooh.
She's not someone who I thought was creating an amazing business model or was in it for the proper reasons. I hated the structure of the NWHL because I felt like it wasn't as a league trying to grow the sport, it was more for profit, I guess is the best way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think having her sort of take over that ownership group helps women's hockey, ultimately. I think allowing them to get back into the growth and into just focusing on growth as opposed to trying to earn a massive profit, I think it's going to be very beneficial. And having these individual owners for each team now, I think that's going to be amazing for the growth of women's hockey, because it will mean the league doesn't have to supply them with those funds. It'll be separate ownership groups. You know, I believe the Pagulas used to own the Buffalo Buttes, but they unfortunately had to sell, or they gave the team back to the NWHL. And you know, I'm just sort of, I think it's a good move, ultimately. I'll read the quote before I let Aiden sort of talk a bit, but this is basically a quote from in the release that they made yesterday. And it says, effective immediately, the league will take the form of an unincorporated association with a board of governors representing each member club, thereby ensuring alignment of interests between the league and its teams. This is the same approach used by the NHL, NFL, and MLB. Aiden, what do you think about this restructuring? Do you think this is beneficial, and do you think that this leads to potentially either more of a partnership with the PWHPA or with the NHL?
I mean, I don't know too much about Danny Rylan, but yeah, I definitely I think that. I think you know, from what you were saying, it's kind of like she was kind of the only one in charge. She was the only one making the decisions, and obviously the NWHL hasn't really strived yet under her. So I assume that, you know, if you go to like the ownership mentality and you do what the NFL, NBA, NHL is doing, with owners for every team, and it's more of like a sense of community, like you're coming up with the decisions together more than just one person. I think it's going to be very beneficial. So I do like the decision. And as for providing a better relationship with the National Hockey League, yeah, maybe. I don't know if just, you know, letting her or stepping down and bringing new people in will change the relationship right away, but maybe over time I could see something. But I definitely think it's a step in the right direction for the NWHL, and yeah, hopefully there is a relationship there with the NHL at some point, and they just continue to grow it, and women's hockey becomes more popular, because we've seen what it can do, like on the big stages, like watching women's hockey on like the Olympic level. That's some of the most exciting hockey, and I know the NHL wants to help them out and get behind it. So, you know, hopefully her stepping down just provides a new lane for the NWHL, and they have a better relationship with everyone.
Yeah, agreed. It's going to be interesting to see how the NWHL reacts to this, how the Players Union reacts to this, how the PWHPA reacts to this, because ultimately, if they can get the support of the PWHPA, that's going to be huge. That will potentially lead to the combining of the two groups, and hopefully lead to one women's hockey league, which I think should be the ultimate goal for women's hockey and for both the NWHL and for the PWHPA, because they want to make women's hockey as successful as possible, and the only way that you're going to do that is through a unified group and through an actual
league,
solid product.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we'll talk about this more next week, and sort of watch a bit more of the fallout in terms of how people react, because I think this sort of came out of nowhere, honestly. I didn't see this coming at all, and I think we're definitely going to talk about it next week for sure. Maybe even later in the episode. We'll see if
Okay.
anything breaks.
Sure.
But let's start our NHL talk now, because about, what is it, 6 pages of our 7 pages of notes are NHL notes. So we're going to be talking for quite a bit about the NHL and everything that's happened there. I guess we'll start with, how do we want to start this?
Well, I mean, there's a lot
Let's
of
go
signings.
Yeah, I think we should do a segment that I sort of planned for this, sort of to get through as many signings as we possibly could. And it's basically going to be quick fire. So I'm going to name a player on the contract. Aiden, you're going to say good, bad, meh. And depending on if we disagree, we can sort of talk about it a little bit.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Sure.
And if you're in the chat, use the chat feature as well, and we'll get your thoughts as well. Although it appears as though there's only one of you, so feel free to jump in
Hey,
the chat as well.
we gained a
out.
subscriber as well. So shout out to whoever subscribed to the channel.
Yeah, we're getting up to 15.
Up
now,
at
right?
15, yeah.
Big moves, big moves. We should. I tweeted this out, so hopefully my Twitter saw this. Maybe we can throw this on our Instagram stories now, so we can
Oh, sure.
check it out. Why don't you do that while I decide on how I want to start and which direction I want to go on all of these free agents, because, as I mentioned, there are 4 pages of names. Let's go old to new.
Okay.
I think is probably the best way to do this.
Okay.
Uh,
I can
So
multitask,
let me know
so
when
I'm
you're
ready.
good to go.
I'm ready. I'll set the Instagram story up and I'll answer you at the same time.
Perfect. Legend. All right. Zemgus Girgensons. 3 years, 2.2 mil.
I think it's a little bit much for him, to be honest. I think it's just a little bit of an overpayment, but just because it was Buffalo, like, and he wasn't a. This is like an extension, right? It's not a new contract with a new team. It's kind of like an extension just because he was a former Buffalo player. So I think that's why he got the money. If it was on any other team, this guy is making maybe 1.5 max. That might be a bit of a hot take, maybe? No? I think he's making 1.5 max on any other team. I
I don't
think
think that's
he's
much
at
of a hot take.
I think he's at best a third line player.
All right. Okay. That's.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with. Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna try to disagree with you, but I just can't.
Yeah.
He isn't really a top 6 player, but Buffalo will pay anybody who is willing to come to them. So we'll dive into one of those signings a little bit later. But next up on the list, because I agree with you, Malcolm Subban, 2 years, $900K with the Chicago Blackhawks.
Yeah. That's a good one. I don't really have a problem with that. So yes, I'll say yes to that.
All right, I like that too. Victor Mete, $735 1-year extension with the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah, I like it too. I think he's, at best, he's a top 6 guy. Like, he's not going to sneak into the top 4, maybe one day. But I like how Montreal brought him back, and I think it's a good signing.
All right, next up we have, because I agree with you, I think it's a great signing for them, Dominic Kubalik.
Ooh.
2 times 3.7 in Chicago.
That is an underpayment, in my opinion. I think I know it's a bridge deal, right? It's only how many years? 2 years? 2-year deal?
It's a 2-year deal, I believe.
2-year, yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of like a bet on yourself kind of deal. And Chicago isn't ready to give him the big bucks yet. so that's why the term was so low on it. But I like the deal for the Blackhawks, but I think Kubalik could have gotten more.
I'd agree with that. Apparently, our audio might be doubling up a little bit, or my audio might be doubling up a little bit, echoing.
Really? I hear you perfectly fine
Yes.
here. Is someone else saying that?
Yes.
Oh.
If it is, apologies. This has taken way too long for us to figure out, and we're not going to mess with anything during the show, so apologies for that. But we'll hopefully have that issue sorted out for next week. But yeah, I think Dominic Kubalik could have gotten a lot more, or I don't know about a lot, but a bit more. But yeah, I think it's a good bridge deal for him. I think it's a good bridge deal for him, and I think it's a good bridge deal for Chicago. But we'll see whether or not he stays in Chicago, because
Yeah.
that entire situation is interesting, to say the least. Next up, we have Bobby Ryan at 1 year, $1 million with the Detroit Red Wings, following his buyout with the Ottawa Senators.
Yeah. I think it's pretty good. I like it for Detroit. You bring in a guy who has plenty of NHL experience, a guy who can still score between, I'd say, maybe around 15 goals on Detroit. He's going to play big minutes there. Obviously, he's going to be one of their best players right away. And to get him for only $1 million, I think it's a steal for the Red Wings. And they got so much cap space already, and it's not going to do anything but help the young guys. So I like it.
All right. Next up, Luke Shen, 1 year, $800K with Tampa.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good contract. It's great for Tampa, a team that's very close to the cap already, and Chen was a big part of their Stanley Cup run. So, yeah, good deal.
All right. Pat Maroon, 2 years, $900K with Tampa.
Great deal. I love it. I love the extra year on that as well. I'm happy for Patrick Maroon. He doesn't have to worry about free agency next year. Yeah, and great deal for Tampa. They love him there. He was also a big part of their cup run. I like how they brought him back right away.
Amazing deal. I agree fully. I wouldn't be overly surprised to see him taken in the expansion draft next summer, but yeah, I like that deal for the Tampa Bay Lightning. He's a very, very underrated player, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
This is an interesting one. Radko Gudas, 3 years, 2.5 per with Florida.
I thought he was gonna get more money, to be honest, but I really like it for Florida if you can get him at 2.5. I mean, Gudas is probably your fourth or fifth, and I think 2.5 is pretty good. Like most guys in the top 4 will make at least $3 million, but to get him for $500K under that is pretty good. I think that's kind of what Florida needs as well. A more, I wouldn't say stay-at-home defenseman, but a more defensive, more physical defenseman that can help out in front of the net around Bobrovsky. Because they already have some of the offensive guys there. They have Ekblad, they have Matheson, who are more, jumping up into the rush kind of players. Well, I shouldn't say that about Ekblad. Ekblad's good two-way. But I think they could have used more help in front of Bobrovsky last year. So I think it's a move that they had to make. And, yeah, to get him for that price, it's a great deal. Great signing.
All right. I am not of that opinion. I disagree. I think this was not a great signing by Florida because they already have Mackenzie Weegar, who can do that sort of thing in front of the net. And I look at their back end, and, they got Stralman, they got Ekblad. They got Yandel, I believe. So I'm not a huge fan of this, especially at that term. 3 years. That's kind of a long time for a guy who's in his 30s, I think, already.
Mm-hmm.
And a guy who's got a tendency to sort of throw his body around in not necessarily the most legal ways.
True, that's true, yeah.
it does add something to that team that they didn't have in a guy who will try to kill you. Frankly.
Yeah.
Um,
But then there's always the talks
So-
of them moving on from Mackenzie Weegar, and Gudis is kind of like his replacement. And I mean, eventually Weegar is going to get paid more than 2.5, I would say. So maybe it's also a bit of a like a saving for them in the long run. But no, I agree. Like they do have good guys. Like they have Yandel, like you said, Weegar, Matheson, Ekblad. I think just the playing style of Gudis kind of just helps them out a lot more.
yeah, I would have liked for them to have kept Uyghur because I think he's very good. Although,
I mean, they still have him.
yeah, they still have him. I just don't think he has a future on that team. But we'll dive into that entire situation a little later in the show when we talk about some other rumors that are out there. But let's continue quick fire. Do this a little bit more quick fire. Tyler Mott, 2 years, $1.25 million per with Vancouver.
Yeah, it's good. It's a little bit more than I thought he was going to get, but good for Tyler Mott. He made his name in the playoffs, so yeah, I like it.
All right, John Merrill, Red Wings, 1 year, $925K.
Sure. Good. I guess, yeah. I don't know too much about John Merrill.
All right, Carter Verhaeghe, 1 million AAV, 2 years in Florida.
Yeah, I think that's about right. Like, he was a healthy scratch on Tampa most nights. I think 1 mil is a little bit more than what I thought he was going to get. So shout out to him for getting it. But it's a good deal still. It's not like it's not a big overpayment at all. It's 1 mil. Like, you can't really complain about that. He's a good depth player.
Evan Rodriguez, 1 year, league min, back to Pittsburgh after he was involved in the Kasperi Kapanen trade to Toronto.
Yep, nice one. Probably going to play on the fourth line. And, yeah, $900K. Like, can't really complain about that.
Next up, Minnesota found their new starter, replacing, what's his name?
Dubnyk?
How am I blanking on this? Devin Dubnyk, thank you. After he was traded to San Jose for pennies, clearing up a ton of cap space for them. They signed Cam Talbot to a 3-year, $11 million contract. Good, bad, or meh?
If my math is correct, that's like 3.25 or something like that, around there. Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think that's okay. I think that's okay. They needed a goalie, right? They needed someone, and
yeah,
that's not incredibly expensive for a starting goaltender either. And I mean, we've seen flashes of Talbot being a great goalie on Edmonton, and I guess going back to his days with the Rangers as a backup goalie. So yeah, it's kind of like a low risk, high reward thing for the Wild, and they're trying to stay competitive, I think. Even though they've traded away Stahl and now Dubnyk, I think they're trying to bring in like some new faces to kind of shake things up a little bit, and I don't think they're ready to go into like full rebuild mode. They're still hanging on there with Parise and Suter, so they're trying to make a run at it still. I don't know if Talbot's gonna be the guy to do that for them, but at least they now know they have somebody who's hopefully better than Dubnyk in the net.
Yep, they signed a 33-year-old goalie to a 3-year contract carrying an average annual value of $3.66 million. That deal sucks, and I hate it for the Minnesota Wild, personally.
Oh, wow, okay. I actually didn't know he was that old, 33. 3.6.
Yes. It's going to be 36 by the time that contract ends. So, yeah.
It's not that bad of a...
Have fun with that.
I don't think the money is that bad, to be honest. Like 3.6, like it's not, it could be worse, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
It definitely could be worse, but it could be much better.
Could be better, yeah. I
Let's
mean,
go next to Kyle Turris.
He's their number one goalie too. So like if he's making 3.6, I think that's pretty good.
Should he be a number one goalie though?
No, you're right, but it's an upgrade from Dubnyk, and yeah, that's all I got. I'm trying to defend myself here.
It's less than ideal, I think, in my opinion, but we'll see whether or not it pays off for them. Next up, you got Kyle Turris signing a $1.65 million per 2-year deal with the Edmonton Oilers.
I think this might be my favorite deal. Like, the Oilers got a big guy in, well, he's not big, but a small guy in Kyle Turris for a great price. Like, what was it, 1.6? Like, this guy is still, like, he could still play in your top 6. He had a great tenure on Ottawa. He's coming off of a not so good season with the Predators, but in his first couple of years in Nashville, he was decent. And, put him with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl and put him on the power play. He's going to put up numbers there. And, yeah, 1.6. Like, that's crazy. Like, Toronto, what are you thinking? Just trade Kerfoot and sign Turris to that amount, and then your cap problems are fixed. I think Turris is better than Alex Kerfoot. So, I like the signing for Edmonton.
I agree. I think it's a great signing. I'm not sure about the Kerfoot take, but I love this signing for Edmonton. He just solves your 3C right there, and it allows you to play one of Ryan Nugent-Hopkins or Leon Draisaitl on the wing, potentially with McDavid, or put Draisaitl and RNH together. I think this is really, really smart business by Ken Holland and the entire Edmonton Oilers front office. Next up, Nathan Beaulieu signing a 2-year, $125,000 deal with the Winnipeg Jets. $1.25 million.
Oh my God! Yeah, $125,000.
$1.25 million. All right.
I guess. Like, yeah, I'll just say yeah. We got to move it along here. Yeah, that's a good contract. Sure.
Kevin Rooney, 2 years, $750K with the Rangers.
Never heard of his name, but that's great.
All right. Anton Forsberg, 1-year deal in Edmonton.
For how much? Do we know?
Who cares?
Okay. Who cares?
He's the third goalie.
All right. Good contract then.
Keith Kincaid, 2 years, $875K with the Rangers.
Yeah, that's pretty good too. Yeah, that's good.
He's crap, but he's just going to be exposed in the expansion draft for them. That's the only reason they signed him. Which explains the second year.
Right,
Alex
right.
Petrovic, 1 year, $700K with the Flames.
I can't really give an opinion if the contract is less than $1 million. Like, it's a good contract, I guess. If a team gets a player for less than $1 million, it's an automatic W in my opinion.
All right. Alex Wenberg, 1 year, 2.25.
Ooh. Yeah. Wait, who did he sign with?
I can't remember.
Okay.
I don't know why I didn't put that in there.
Okay. I think that's pretty good money for him. Like, he's still how old is he? I think he's still a decent.
Florida. He signed with Florida.
Ooh, that's a pretty good deal. Yeah, that's a very good deal.
Bought out by the Columbus. Yeah, he was just bought out by the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Yeah, he's averaging a point every 2 games last year. I think it's a good contract. I like it. He's gonna play probably third line there, and yeah, they got him for a good price, so I like it.
All right, Mark Jankowski, 1 year league min with Pittsburgh.
Oh, that's a great deal. Great deal. I think that's what Pittsburgh needs on the fourth line, and yeah, league min. Can't really complain about that. He was a great player on Calgary, workhorse, good forechecker, so I like it.
Tyler Ennis, 1 year, $1 million with Edmonton.
I like Tyler Ennis as a player. I think he's very underrated. I still think he has 25 goal seasons left in him. I think he's a top 6 player. Put him with McDavid, he's going to get 25 goals.
All right, I like that take. That's interesting. We'll see whether or not he plays that high up in the lineup. But I also like this contract. Tobias Reeder, 1 year league min with Buffalo.
Tobias Reeder's not going to solve your problems. They tried Reeder with McDavid. Didn't really work. they could try him with Eichel. I don't think it's gonna work. I'm pretty sure Hall and Olafson will play with Eichel instead. So, but it's league min again, right? Or it's like 700K or something. So, yeah,
It's league min, yeah.
yeah, like good signing, I guess.
No risk.
Yeah, no risk.
Potential high roll.
Exactly.
This is low risk, no reward. Jack Johnson, 1 year, $1 million with the New York Rangers. Okay, but why?
I think that's a bit of an overpayment, to be honest. I thought he was gonna sign for league min.
I think any contract's an overpayment for Jack Johnson. No offense to Jack Johnson. The person is just...
Man, I
think we kind of figured out
Yeah, I
he's
know.
not very good anymore.
I feel bad for him because he used to be a good player on Columbus, and then like he was well known for his offense and stuff, but then he went somewhere else, and then he went to Pittsburgh, or no, maybe he just went straight to Pittsburgh. It was just a 1 year, like he was awful in Pittsburgh, and that just ruined his career.
Yeah. Yeah, it was... I don't know why the Rangers are taking a chance on him, but I feel bad for him as a person. It's just...
I mean, he's making
like,
$1 million a year
his
still, so
defense- Yeah, exactly. Although he did have a lot of financial issues recently due to some other personal stuff,
okay.
which we won't get into now. But yeah, Jack Johnson, congrats on getting a contract. It just doesn't really make sense to us personally.
Yeah.
Next up, Mark Borowiecki, 2 years, $4 million, 2 per, obviously, with the Nashville Predators.
I mean, I like Borowiecki. I think he's a great guy to have in the locker room. I know he's not the best on the ice. Like, he's not the best skater. Doesn't have any offensive upside. He's more of that, stay-at-home defenseman. He gets in your face, will fight, drop the gloves. I think it's a little bit much. I don't know if that's just me, but I think maybe just because it's Nashville, and they don't have... I don't know how, but they don't have the strongest back end anymore. They used to have like so much talent there, and I know they still have Yossi Ellis, but I think it was a bit of a panic move, to be honest. I think $2 million is a lot for Borowiecki, who's more so a goon and a locker room presence than a good hockey player.
I like this deal because I love Borowiecki.
Yeah.
I don't think this is a payment for his on-ice services. I think this is for what he does off the ice.
Oh, I agree with that,
He's
yeah.
an unbelievable person, and it's going to be a huge addition to that locker room, and he's going to be a really big leader, and I love this contract, and I'm really, really happy that he got paid, personally.
Okay, yeah.
Kevin Shattenkirk, 3 years, $3.9 million with the Anaheim Ducks. That's 3.9 per, by the way.
Yeah. I like Shattenkirk. He played really well in the playoffs with Tampa. Anaheim can put him on the second power play. He's going to bang in a couple goals for you. He's still very solid in the defensive zone as well, even strength. He can play on the penalty kill, right shot defenseman. Getting him under $4 million, I think, is pretty good. I know he's getting up there in age, so that contract might be a problem towards the end of it. But Anaheim is still one of the worst teams in the league, even though they got Shattenkirk. I know he's going to help their young guys out a lot on the back end, and he's going to show a couple things to their young defensemen. So I think maybe similar to the Borowiecki thing, I think Shattenkirk made maybe $1 million on that deal just because of what he can do off the ice in being a leader and a mentor to the young guys on the team.
He really resurrected his career last season with Tampa.
Yep.
He was a buyout by the Rangers, turning into a Stanley Cup champion with the Lightning, into a pretty good contract for him. So it's good to see somebody rebound like that. But next up, John Hayden, 1 year, $750K with Coyotes. It's good. I'm just going to fill that in for you now. Matt Benning, 2 years, $1 million AAV with Nashville.
How much did you say? $1 million?
$1 million AAV.
Yeah, That's pretty good, I guess. I don't think Matt Benning is the best player. He's not the best defenseman, but he'll be like their sixth guy, I guess. And $1 million for a sixth guy is pretty solid.
Yep. I'm not even going to say the next guy because who is he?
Who is it?
Schultz.
Who is it?
Anthony Potato?
Potato. Oh, okay. Whatever. We can skip him.
2-year, 2-way with the Rangers.
2-way contracts. Huh. I like it.
What a shocker. Justin Schultz, 2-year, $4 million per with the Washington Capitals.
I think this one is very risky, just because Schultz has been injury prone the last 2 seasons, I believe. But if he stays healthy, then it's a big win, and Washington is scary again. Because Justin Schultz and John Carlson are, very good offensively. You can put Carlson on the PP1 and then Schultz on the second power play. You can put them together if Washington needs a goal late in a game. I believe Schultz is right-handed as well. So right-handed defensemen are obviously more valuable to teams now, it seems. So that's big. He has the cup experience. He's played in the Metropolitan Division. He knows how to beat teams like the Rangers, Devils, Islanders. The Penguins obviously got swept by the Islanders a couple years ago, but he knows how to beat teams in that division, and he knows all about the Penguins too, so he's going to provide a lot, in my opinion.
All right, Kevin Miller, 1-year deal. It could hit $2 million based on bonuses with Boston.
Sure, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a problem with it. Maybe a slight overpayment, but I think it's okay.
John Gillies, 1-year, 2-way with Blues. Could you even tell me what position he plays?
I mean, I could guess. I have a 1 in 3 shot of getting it right.
True. That's true.
Probably a 1 in 2 shot because I don't think he's a goalie. Could be wrong. I don't know.
I believe he is a goalie.
Oh my God, is he really?
Let me
Gillies.
just look this up.
Gillies.
I believe this is the former Toronto Maple Leaf. John Gillies, I believe.
Yeah, he is a goalie. He is a goalie.
Yeah. He is. Oh no, he's Calgary Flames. That's who he is. That's why I've heard his name before.
Oh.
He's played 12 games for the Calgary Flames.
So this guy signed with the Blues.
Yeah.
Huh. I can't really comment on the contract. I don't know if he's a good goalie or not.
I'm not even sure if the Blues do.
Yeah.
Next up, Lucas Spiza, 1-year, $800K with Winnipeg.
That's a pretty good deal. I like that deal. $800K for a guy who used to be a top 4 defenseman on Anaheim and Vancouver, I think. That's a pretty good contract for him. And Vegas.
He did play for Vegas, didn't he?
Yeah.
Wow.
Expansion draft, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Huh. Tyler Pitlick, 2 years, 1.75 per with Arizona.
Wow, that's a bit much, I think. I don't know. I don't know what his last contract was, but 1.75. I know he's he's still in his 20s, I believe. I guess just because it's Arizona, they could give him that amount. But I think that's a bit of an overpayment, in my opinion. But I mean, it's nothing too bad. Like, he's probably gonna, in my opinion, he probably makes maybe like 1.2. But like 500K more isn't the worst. It could be worse.
You say Arizona can afford it, but I think they might be over the cap.
Oh my God. Okay, then it's a bad one. It's a bad contract.
I don't know if that's fully true based on the cap-friendly chart, because they may have guys on LTIR who are actually on their roster, or guys who are in the NHL who should be in the AHL. Like, the Leafs have, I think, Liljegren and Sandin piled up. Like, they got, like, 12 defensemen, and they got like Barabanov in the AHL. So
Yeah.
it isn't cat friendly. Isn't perfect in their off-season mode,
No.
but they're still unbelievable. And I recommend
Yes.
using cat friendly because
Yeah.
yeah, they're great. Vinny Hinostroza, 1 year, $1 million with Florida.
That's a very good deal. I like that deal a lot. 1 mil. I didn't even know he got 1 mil. That's very good. I think he can score between 15 to 20 goals. He can play throughout your lineup. I think he's going to be a good ad for Florida. I think Daniel's going to like that.
Yep. Next up, Jarek Pouliot, 1 year, 2-way deal, $700K with the Flyers.
Ooh, man. Jeez. What a bust Derek Pouliot was. This guy was supposed to be on the top pair playing with Chris Letang for the Penguins one day. And now he's getting 2-way deals with his rival, the Flyers. $700K. Yeah, it's a good deal. $700K. Like, for a guy who used to have that potential, sure. That's a good contract. I know he's got some offensive upside to him. So, it'll be good.
All right, Nick Cousins, 2 years, 1.5 per with the Nashville Predators.
I like it. I'll give it a 8 out of 10. I'm gonna start giving ratings.
That's a good idea. We're gonna give ratings now, or you are.
Yeah, it's just quick. It's just
I didn't
quicker.
think about that. Yeah, Thomas Nosek, 1 year, 1.25 per with Vegas.
I'll give that a 10. 10 out of 10. He's a good depth player. I like his forechecking ability. 1.25 isn't bad at all. It's not too much for him.
Oh, okay. Next up, Brandon Davidson, 1 year, $700K. Tell me his position.
Defense.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's a defenseman.
So
I think. Brad Davidson. Let's take a look.
Brandon Davidson.
Oh,
Brandon.
it sounds
Yes.
like a defenseman. Yep, defenseman.
Nice.
Signed with Buffalo. He's only played in 12 NHL games last season, but failed to score a point. So, I mean, 700K,
What team was he with?
San Jose and Calgary. Split time. Yeah, I mean, sure. I don't know. I'll give it a 7 out of 10.
All right, we got a string of a few actual players. Next up, Corey Crawford, 2 year, 3.9 per with the New Jersey Devils.
I don't know. I think it's fair. Like I don't have too big of a problem with it. Like I wasn't expecting Crawford to get paid, but I also wasn't expecting him to only sign for like 2 mil or something. I think it's a pretty fair deal. Obviously, New Jersey needs a goalie, and they want to stay competitive. And Crawford, you know, he was okay during the playoffs with Chicago. He won them around against Edmonton. And it's only 2 years, so I don't think it's going to hurt them too much. I'll give this deal an 8 out of 10.
All right, Andre Burakovsky, 2 years, 4.9 per with the Colorado Avalanche.
I think that's a lot of money. Like, Burakovsky only had 1 good year with them. I think most of his goals just came because of either Landeskog or Rantanen were injured, and he would get bumped up to play with McKinnon, and that's when he would just go off. I think if it was another team that was signing him and it wasn't Colorado, he would probably get 3.5 max.
So you don't like it then? What's your rating?
I'll say it's probably going to be like a 5 out of 10.
Okay, so not terrible.
Like
Next
it
up,
could pay off,
Thomas-
but it's very risky.
True. Thomas Grace, 2 years, 3.6 per with the Detroit Red Wings.
Good for Thomas Grace. That might be the biggest contract of his career. So, yeah, good for him. He's going to play most of the games in Detroit. Detroit obviously has a ton of cap space, so they can afford it. I'll say, I'll give it an 8 out of 10.
All right, Craig Smith, 3 years, 3.1 per with the Boston Bruins.
Oh, wow, I didn't even know that. 3.1. I think that is fair. I think that's fair contract. That's the guy that missed the empty net. That's how I remember Craig Smith. I'll say 7 out of 10. It could backfire.
Okay, I think a lot of people were supportive of it in the advanced analytics community because I think he has good advanced analytics numbers.
Okay.
But we'll see whether or not he works well in Boston. Next up, you have Jordan Greenway, 2 year, 2.1 per with the Minnesota Wild.
I like it. I'll give this deal a 9. I really like how they brought him back. U.S. guy, played in the development program there. Still very, I think he's not too young, but he's still in his 20s, mid-20s, I think. He's got some upside to him. 2.1 is pretty good. I like the contract.
All right, next up, Troy Stetcher, 2 years, 1.7 per with Detroit.
That's a great deal. I'll give that one a 10. Troy Stetcher, I think, is very underrated. I don't know how Vancouver let him go. And look at what he did in the playoffs. Scored some big goals for them. Was he an RFA or a UFA? You know?
I think he was an RFA that didn't get qualified.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I don't know what Vancouver was thinking. It was such a good story, him scoring a goal for his dad as well. And Detroit to get him under $2 million is also a very good deal. So I'll give it a 10 out of 10.
I love this deal for Detroit. And the fact that Vancouver let him go for that cheap is an embarrassment.
Yep. And Vancouver's done nothing in free agency but signed Braden Holtby too.
Yes, they've done a little bit outside of that though.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Mikko Koivu, 1 year, 1.5 per with Columbus.
That's a pretty good deal for Columbus. 1.5 for a guy who was a top 6 player on Minnesota last year. It's pretty good. Veteran guy. Good offensive and defensive instincts. I like the contract.
Former captain as well.
Yeah.
Mike Smith, 1 year, $2 million with the Edmonton Oilers.
Oh boy, Edmonton. I think you got to get a better goalie than Koskinen or Smith, and $2 million. I guess they had to give Smith a little bit of money, so I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of it. I'll say like a 6 out of 10.
I don't know if I would even hit 3 with that, but
Yeah, true. I'm too generous.
a little generous on your giving out of awards to GMs, I guess. Next up, Mark Pysyk, $750K 1 year deal with the Dallas Stars.
It's a good deal, I guess. I don't know. Was he the guy that scored all the goals against the Leafs? Pysyk, I think. I think so.
I can't remember exactly.
He was on Florida, I'm pretty sure, last year. And I believe he's a defenseman that played forward last year for some games or most games. Yeah, I mean, I can't comment. It's like $700,000. It's a great signing. If you can get anyone for that cheap, I think it's a win. It's hard for one of those contracts to not be good.
This is a 10 out of 10. Every day.
Yeah, exactly.
Very, very good.
Yeah, I would say
I
that.
think his advanced analytics are really, really nice as well. So, yeah, that's a great, great deal for the Stars.
Yeah.
Next up, Johan Larsson, 2 times 1.4 in Arizona.
Yeah, I don't mind it either. I think, yeah, 1.4 isn't too bad. And this guy played on Buffalo, never really got to his full potential, but maybe Arizona will do something with him, and he gets better.
Kevin LeBanc, 4 years, 4.725 AAV. I should remind everyone he signed a 1-year, $1 million deal with the Sharks last summer as an RFA, and he was an RFA again this summer.
Yeah. I'll say it's a 10 out of 10 deal for LeBanc, but it's a 3 out of 10 deal for San Jose. I don't think he's worth that much. I think what San Jose should have done is split up the values, give him like a 2.5 one last year, and then another like 2.7 this year. Like, there's no way he should be making almost $5 million. Like, Andre Burakovsky is a lot better than Kevin LeBanc.
I don't know about that, but okay. Next up, Louis Domingue, 1 year, $700K with the Flames.
Yeah, I guess it's good. Calgary, they got Markstrom, they got Riddick, and now they got Domingue. That's a pretty good tandem. So I like how they got the depth. Yeah, I think it's very important for teams now to add to their goalie depth, and we'll get into that discussion more once we talk about Aaron Dell. But yeah, I like the signing.
All right, Clay Eakin, 2 years, 2.25 with Buffalo.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Third line center money. I think Eakin still has some game left in him. I liked him on Vegas in that first year, their inaugural season. I think he was a key part to their Stanley Cup final run. And I like it for Buffalo. I still don't think it's going to change anything too much with Buffalo, but it's a good signing.
All right, Jesper Fast, 3 years, $2 million per with Carolina.
Wow, I didn't even know about that one too. $2 million with Carolina. That's a pretty good contract. I liked Fast on the Rangers. I think he was one of their leading scorers before Panarin got there. I think the year prior to Panarin, he was one of their better guys. So yeah, I could see Fast playing on the third line in Carolina, and that's kind of what Carolina needs, more scoring. Like, they have that stacked defense. They need to add to their offense, and they need to maybe find a goalie. So, maybe Fast will help them score a bit more goals next year.
Yeah, I love this deal. I think this is a really good deal for the Avalanche.
Wait, it was the Avalanche? I thought it was the Hurricanes.
Oh, Carolina. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
I'm looking at the next player, which is Valerian Nichushkin, who signed a 2-year, $2.5 million per deal with the Colorado Avalanche.
Wow, Colorado really likes to overpay their guys. So Burakovsky and now Nichushkin. I don't think he's worth 2.5, to be honest. Maybe $2 million, but I still think it's a little bit much. But Colorado can do this because McKinnon's contract is so good. So they have some flexibility there. So, yeah. Let's try and speed up with this one. I know Connor's getting tired.
Oh, no. I don't know why I'm yawning so much.
It's been a long day.
We're almost done. It has been. We're almost done with the quickfire thing. We're going to do actual quickfire now.
Okay.
You're going to say your rating, good, bad.
Okay.
And we might talk about 2 players on this list.
I'll just say good or bad. I'll just say good or bad.
Brandon Montour, 1 year, 3.85 per with Buffalo.
Bad. I don't like it.
Neither do I. Trevor Van Riemsdyk, 1 year, $800K with the Caps.
Good.
Derek Forbert, 1 year, $1 million with Jets.
Good.
Vladislav Nemesnikov, 2-year, $2 million AAV with Detroit.
Good.
Kyle Clifford, 2-year, $1 million AAV with Blues after he was reportedly offered a longer deal with more money by the Leafs.
Very good by the Blues.
Very bad by Kyle Clifford. Radek Faksa, 5 years, $3.25 million with Dallas.
Good.
Long.
Yeah, long, yeah.
Matthias Janmark, 1 year, $2.75 million with Chicago.
Bad.
Ryan Graves, 3 years, $3.16 million with Colorado.
Bad. I hate the Colorado signings. Oh my goodness. They just overpay their guys. That's a lot of money for Ryan Graves. He's going to be playing on the bottom pair. They have so much talent on the back end. Why are you paying that much for a guy?
I guess they got to expose someone for the expansion draft.
Yeah, I guess.
And they kind of traded a defenseman for a very good return, which we'll dive into in a second. But Eric Gustafson, 1 year, $3 million with Philly.
Bad.
Brad Richardson, 1 year, $1 million with the Preds.
Good.
Lucas Wallmark, 1 year, $950K with Chicago.
Good.
Austin Zarnik. I don't know why that confused me for a second. Austin Zarnik, 2 years, $725K per with the Islanders.
Good.
Patrick Marleau, 1 year, $700K with San Jose.
Amazing. I love that. 10 out of 10.
Nice. And rounding out the final of our quickfire segment that actually took 45 minutes to finish. Nicholas Paul, 2 years, 1.35 per with the Ottawa Senators.
Good.
It's good because it's helping them reach the floor because they still haven't even reached that yet. We should mention before we dive into big RFAs, arbitration was announced. We're not going to dive into that today. We'll dive into that next week after some of the cases have happened and we know some of the numbers a bit more. But Ilya Mikheyev did file for arbitration, so that's going to be something to watch for the Leafs and see how much of a money he gets because there's really no comparables for him.
No.
Because of how few games he's played at his age. So it'll be interesting to see what he gets in arbitration, really.
Yep.
All right. Let's go into signings a little bit more. Some interesting signings. I probably should have included this one with the quick fire because we sort of knew about it ahead of time, but Henrik Lundqvist signed a 1 year, $1.5 million deal with Washington. What do you think about that contract?
I think it's pretty fair. Lundqvist at his age probably doesn't have too much game left in him. He's definitely not a starting goaltender anymore, but I could see him coming into Washington and just helping grow and develop Ilya Samsonov, who they are betting on to be their next franchise goaltender, leading them to a cup. They want him to be their Andrei Vasilevsky, basically. And who better to help them out than a guy who has played 20 years in the league, in the same division as the Capitals. He knows them very well. I think it's a great signing for the Caps. I don't really have a problem with the money. And I hope that, Washington maybe goes on a run, maybe make it all the way up to the Eastern Conference Finals, and then, unfortunately, the Leafs will have to beat them in that round. But, yeah, I like the signing. It's good. It's good for Hank.
Yeah, I like it. It gives them a real shot at the cup, in my opinion. It's a cheap deal for the Washington. It feels weird to not have Henrik Lundqvist on the Rangers. Cheap deal. If they're not in contention or they want to flip him at the deadline, they can, and he can go to another team where he could potentially compete. So I like this deal for both sides. I think this will hopefully work out well, and hopefully Hank gets his cup, but not at the expense of the Leafs. Is that a good way to say
Exactly.
it?
Yep. That's what I said, by the way.
All right.
Yep.
Next up, let's do. Oh, okay, yeah. Let's do Anton Hudobin. 3 years, 3.33 per with Dallas. He tested the market and ultimately circled back to Dallas and agreed to this contract. What do you think about this deal for him?
I think it's well deserved. I think typically that's a little bit much for a backup goalie, and I don't know. It's really tricky because Hudobin's also an older guy in the league as well. You don't really want to be paying him that much, but he really earned that contract, and I'm happy for him. They now know that if Ben Bishop gets hurt, we have a guy who can step in and win hockey games, can steal hockey games, and can put up consecutive wins in a row. I think what we saw towards the end of the Stanley Cup final is him finally gassing out. You know, I think it was game 3. Tampa just kind of lit him up. I think it was that. Yeah, it was game 3. Might have been game 4 even when Kevin Shattenkirk scored the overtime winner. He just looked out of position on a lot of goals, giving up the puck behind the net a bunch of times, coming out to play the puck in times where he didn't need to. So I think what Dallas needs to do now is to find a better third-string goaltender. I don't think Jake Ottinger is the guy to go to, because if Bishop gets hurt and is not able to play in the playoffs, there's no way that you can be playing Dobby every single night. Like, you need to have a balance because he just can't handle it anymore. His body physically just can't do it anymore. He's too old. He's good. He can win you. I think he can still win you a Stanley Cup, but they need to find some help, and they got to get a guy who's better than Ottinger and can split some starts at least with Dobby to give him a couple days off, you know.
Yeah, I think the age is going to be a big issue with this contract. He's still definitely a good goalie, like, for sure. And he proved it in the playoffs, but yeah, you're right. The age will be a problem for him, and hopefully they can find a good, hopefully Ben Bishop can become what he was again. And I think they probably should find another third goalie, but we'll see whether or not they can, because they already do have Ottinger, and that would probably require them to unload him.
Yeah. I mean,
he's not going to be one.
I don't think they need to find the third string goalie right now, but maybe, I'm saying, if Bishop gets hurt, you can't go into the playoffs with Khudobin and Ottinger again. You'd have to find a guy in free agency or via trade to bring in.
I'd agree with that. Next up, let's do Braden Holtby. 2 years, $4.3 million per with the Vancouver Canucks to do a 1A, 1B situation with Thatcher Demko. He has a no-move clause, but he is eligible for the Seattle expansion draft. So what do you think about this deal?
I think it's pretty good. I think obviously Vancouver is going to expect to lose him come the Seattle expansion draft, so it's really just a 1-year thing. And I mean, they mostly just did this because they didn't want to sign Markstrom to the big contract, and they had to find a replacement for him. And I think, there is a chance that Holtby outplays Markstrom next year. We saw what he could do in was it 2017, where they made it to the Cup final, and they won the Cup. They won the Cup. So yeah, he could turn it on at any point. He's still a very good goalie, and I think a change of scenery is going to be very beneficial for him, because I think his last 2 years in Washington, he kind of knew he would be out the door in a couple of years with Samsonov coming in. That's why his numbers weren't the greatest. Now he knows that, it's going to be a 1A, 1B system with Demko. He's going to be splitting the games with him. And they have a legit shot to be one of the best goaltending tandems in the league. And make Vancouver a playoff team once again, and maybe go on a run.
Yeah, it's just, I think, a good signing and a good fit for Vancouver. I like the fact that it is 2 years so that they can't expose him in the expansion draft. I wonder how much of an effect that's going to have on him, and whether or not he plays better or worse because of that looming threat of the expansion draft. Although Seattle's like very, very close either way, so it probably won't have that much of an effect. But it will be interesting to see how he does in Vancouver and whether or not that back end can really stay solid, or see really whether or not Markstrom was more of a product of a good defense or defensive system in Vancouver, or be that he's an unbelievable goalie. And if it was the system, he'll probably have as much success as he did in Vancouver with Calgary, where he signed a 6-year, $6 million per contract that includes a no-move clause. So what do you think about this deal, and do you think this is a good fit for Markstrom?
Yeah, I think it's a very good fit for Markstrom. I think I even thought he could have gotten more than $6 million, but he's still a guy in his 20s, big guy obviously, and he had a great season with Vancouver, one of the best goalies in the league. I didn't think Vancouver would get rid of him, to be honest, but I like the deal. I think that's what Calgary needed the most, a clear number one goaltender, because Riddick wasn't cutting it, Talbot wasn't cutting it, and now they have their guy. He's gonna win you a lot of games. He's gonna steal games for you. I still think there's gonna be changes in Calgary. I could see one of Gaudreau, Monahan, or Lindholm being traded still. I think they have to kind of split up that core. But it's definitely a step forward and an improvement in the net, especially. But it's gonna make their entire team better. So I like the contract, and I don't think they overpaid for him as well. And the term doesn't bother me as well, just because he still is. I think he's like 27 years old. So taking it to 33 around that age is pretty good.
All right, we'll wrap up the goalie talk. Or we do have 2 more goalies, don't we? So let's do Matt Murray, and we'll finish on Jake Allen. But Matt Murray signed a 4-year, $25 million deal with Ottawa. That's 6.25 per. What do you think about this deal for the Ottawa Senators?
That's so much money. That's a lot of money. Like, what? Like, good thing the Leafs didn't trade for him. If we had to pay him 6.2, that's crazy. He got more than Markstrom. That doesn't make any sense to me. I was expecting Murray to get like 3.5. Like, I didn't think he was gonna get 6. That's ridiculous. 0 out of 10.
Really? I'm not.
Yeah,
as down on
it's
this
pretty
as
bad.
some people. Well, he's a former Stanley Cup champion. He's coming into a team in Ottawa who don't care about how much money they make. It's about how much money they have to spend, and they have to hit the cap floor at some point. So it only makes sense that they sign somebody who they just acquired, who's still relatively young, who's probably going to be their goaltender of the future, to a decently long contract. I don't have a huge issue with it. While the money may be a bit of an overpay, what are they going to do with the extra cap space they have? They're under the 4.
Well, I think
Spend more money.
yeah, but like,
So,
why not go out and get another guy? Like, there's so many guys in free agency that they could have got. Like you can't tell me that Murray was like strict on his when they were doing contract discussions. He wasn't like, okay, you guys are paying me $6.2 million at minimum. Like, I don't think the contract negotiations went like that. And I do think Ottawa could have gotten him for like in the $4 million. I think it's a little bit much, and I know that they have to reach the minimum salary cap, but there's so many other guys in free agency, guys that are still left in free agency that they could go after still. Like, why not? They could have brought in like Tyler Toffoli if they wanted to, someone like that. So like Toffoli and Murray is better than just Murray, obviously. So I think they could have used the money more wisely.
I disagree. I like this deal for both sides, personally. I think maybe in a couple of years I might disagree, but today, with where they are sitting at cap-wise, I like it. I think it's a good fit with where they're sitting in terms of the money that they owe and in terms of the money that they need to accumulate.
Right.
Because they're not going to bring back Mike Hoffman. He's one of the few players still available.
Mm-hmm.
Is Dadonov really going to want to come here?
No.
They got to pay the players who are here. And they did that with Murray. And I can't be mad about that. Like, yes, it may be a bit of an overpay, but you got to pay somebody, right?
Yeah.
So might as well pay him. Next up, let's do him now. Let's do Jake Allen. I don't know if you saw this, but it broke today. He signed a 2-year, $2.875 million extension with the Montreal Canadiens. What do you think about this deal?
Les Canadiens de Montréal. Let me see. I think it's I still think it's a little bit much for a backup goalie. But Allen is one of the higher quality backup goaltenders in the league. But I think it's a little bit much. I don't know what your thoughts are, but I think it's a bit much.
It was definitely a little bit much, but I see this as being they're signing a guy just to expose him in the expansion draft.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
He's decent. It's not a huge salary. Seattle probably isn't going to want to take anybody else unless they expose Ben Chiarot in the draft.
How many defensemen can you keep? Do you know?
3. Well, it depends on this. Depends on how you defend players. So you can do either 7 forwards. I think it's 7 forwards, 3 defensemen, 1 goalie, or you can do 8 players.
Okay.
It might be 5-3-1.
Yeah, I could see them taking Chiarot, I guess, or but they have some young guys too, like Cal Fleury. Like he's a guy that they could take. Victor Mete.
Mete might be available, but Cal Fleury probably wouldn't be eligible for the expansion draft. You have to hit minimum requirements in order to be eligible.
Oh, so he has to like play a certain amount of games or something, or money?
Yeah, that's a big issue.
Okay.
No, games. So that's a big issue with the Leafs because right now, in terms of players they wouldn't protect, it's basically just Pierre Engvall and Alex Kerfoot who are left on the roster. Ilya Mikheyev could hit it, but they'd have to sign him to a 2-year deal. And the contract has to extend to next season.
Right.
Which is a big thing in this signing. I see this as being here's your guy, Seattle. If you don't take him, we're happy with this number. But we're also exposing somebody who's kind of appetizing for you.
I got it. Yep, I get that.
Why don't we stick with Montreal and talk Tyler Toffoli, who signed a 4-year, $4.25 million AAV with the Habs. This is going to be a long hockey show talking free agents.
Yeah. I think I like Tyler Toffoli. I think he came into Vancouver, fit in nicely on the top 6. He can play on the first power play if you want. Play him on the second power play. Right shot guy. I think Montreal's top 9 is looking, pretty good now. They have Josh Anderson, Toffoli. Yeah, exactly. Anderson, Toffoli, and Joel Armia on the right side, which is pretty good. So I really like the improvements that they've made to their forward core so far this offseason. I think like the only one flaw would be their center core. I know they're obviously young, Suzuki and Kotkaniemi, and they could get there in a couple years. but maybe not next year. I don't know if it's going to be good enough to like take them to the next level. But in terms of Toffoli, I think he could have gotten more money. So I really like the contract for Montreal. And yeah, I think the term is pretty good too, because he's still, I think he's like he's like late 20s. So 4 years is pretty good for him. Former Cup champion as well.
Yeah, and what do you think about the Josh Anderson contract, who signed 7 years, 5.5 per?
I think it's a little much just because of the injury concerns as well that he's been dealing with last year. So, and I know he can score 25 goals, but that was on Columbus where he had like a lot of opportunities to score, not too many good guys around him. And when he goes to Montreal, there is more talent on Montreal, so I don't know if he's going to get that same opportunity. Will he even play on the first power play? Who knows? 5.5 is a bit much for me. I was thinking maybe $1 million less than that, around like 4.5. It's a risky one. It is risky, but it could pay off. It could look good. I think there is a chance he scores 30 goals on Montreal, but I don't know. It's tough. If he scores 30, it's definitely worth it. 5.5 for a right shot guy is pretty good.
Yeah, I don't like it personally. You're looking at a guy who scored a goal last season, a single goal. He's coming off a pretty serious shoulder injury. He's only scored 25 goals once, and he is that coveted sort of gritty, big guy who can sort of throw his weight around a little bit. But
he's the perfect guy for the playoffs.
That's true. It's just, I think that's really expensive.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
The rumors were it was only going to be a 1 year or 7 year deal. That's all he would accept. So I guess considering they had to give up Max Domi and a 3rd round pick for him, he'd probably go 7, just because. But that number hurts. That number really hurts.
Yeah, you're right. It is a lot. Yeah, let's move along.
Let's move on from Montreal and continue with the Canadian theme. We'll talk about him very quickly. Chris Tanev, 4 times 4.5 with the Flames.
Yeah, it's good. Surprising to see how many Vancouver guys are going over to Calgary. It's a big loss for the Canucks. It's a big gain for the Flames. Veteran, knows how to handle himself. Good on the ice still. Right shot guy. I think the money might be a little bit too much, but and the term might be a little bit too much as well. But they're getting a great player.
Injury concerns are definitely there, but he's good. Sticking in that part of Canada, Tyson Barrie signed a 1 year, $3.75 million deal with Edmonton. There are rumors, it's been kind of confirmed by insiders, that Vancouver offered him more than $5 million for a 1 year deal, and he ended up choosing Edmonton at 3.75. So what do you think about this deal for Tyson Barrie?
I like, he could have gotten more, right? So like, I think it was his decision to go play with Connor McDavid, and he thinks that Edmonton is closer to winning than Vancouver, which it's hard to disagree on that, but I will disagree on that. I think Vancouver is a lot closer, and Barrie is going to be good, I think it's just coming to Toronto in the market and everything, and the way that it started with Babcock, and he got off to that super slow start. I think he could really turn it around on a team like Vancouver, but not Edmonton. I think he might struggle in Edmonton to start at least. But it's too bad. Like, I was expecting him to get a bigger payday, and it sounds like he could have gotten it in Vancouver. I don't really know why he didn't go there. He's also from the area, so it doesn't really make sense to me why he wouldn't go there. But Edmonton's getting a guy who can, put up 60 points in the past, can quarterback your power play, can lead the rush into the offensive zone. But they're also getting a guy who is terrible defensively. So I don't know. I think it's fair money. I think it's fair money for him, and I hope Barry made the right decision.
Want me to tell you why he chose Edmonton over Vancouver, even though he would have made more in Vancouver?
I don't know.
One name.
Connor McDavid.
Quinn Hughes.
You don't want to go play with Quinn Hughes?
Tyson Barrie wouldn't have been the power play quarterback on Vancouver. That is his role. That is what he does.
Is he
a power play quarterback?
Is he gonna
That's
be
how he's gonna
the?
make his money.
Is he gonna be the power play quarterback on Edmonton though?
Yes. Who else would it be? Darnell Nurse,
Oscar Clefbaum is right there. He's
who's out
pretty
with
good.
an injury, potentially for a very long time.
Yeah, to start for sure. But yeah, Darnell Nurse is also a name. I would probably take Barry though. Yeah, Barry over Nurse. I forgot Clefbaum was injured.
Yeah. So that's, I think, why he chose Edmonton, because he's going to show what he can do, put up a crap ton of points playing with Connor McDavid, and play in a sheltered role as well. And that'll make him a ton of money next offseason.
Mm-hmm.
That's, and the escrow is so high. Like, I think it makes a lot of sense. I actually like this move for both teams, or both sides. I think it makes a lot of sense, and I think Barry made the right decision, even though he's taking less money, because I think he'll make more next offseason than he would have if he'd taken the short-term profit from the Vancouver deal.
Interesting. Yeah, it's kind of a bet on yourself deal.
Which is why I love it. I think it's great that he's betting on himself. But let's wrap up with the three big fish who have signed. The biggest fish being Pietrangelo, but we'll finish with him. Let's instead talk about his replacement on St. Louis, Torrey Krug. Signed a 7-year, $6.5 million AAV with St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
Good or bad deal?
I like the deal. I think if you look at what Pietrangelo got and you look at what Krug got, it's definitely more. I think it's more bang for your buck in Torrey Krug than Pietrangelo, because obviously St. Louis is in a bit of a cap crunch as well there, and they're saving some money by signing Krug. Krug is gonna put up more points than Pietrangelo, in my opinion. He's more offensive. I think that's kind of what the Blues were lacking last year as well. They are a very, very good defensive team, and they need some more offense. So Krug is going to be good. Probably going to quarterback their first line power play. And then they got Colton Parayko, who's the right shot guy, to play alongside with him. Like, that's going to be an insane pair, lefty righty. I like the deal for St. Louis a lot. I really like how they didn't waste any time with this one too. They knew that they weren't going to sign Pietrangelo. We're going to get Krug right away. We're not going to let any other team have any time to negotiate with him. He's our guy. We don't care what Pietrangelo's going to say. Let's make this move right away, because we don't want to be left empty-handed and not sign anyone. So I think it's a very good move for St. Louis, and it's a very good move for Krug.
Yeah, I'd agree. I like this deal for Krug. And I like this deal for St. Louis. Term's a bit of an issue. I think it might be a little too long. But I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. And I think there are worse replacements out there for Alex Pietrangelo. So I like this deal. I think it makes a lot of sense for both sides. But second to last free agent, the one who signed, I guess, in between these two. Taylor Hall signed a 1-year, $8 million deal with Buffalo because, okay. He definitely wanted to do this just so that he could play with Eichel and boost his numbers insane amounts for next offseason, where he'll get paid even more.
Yeah. I agree with that. Like, he just did it for the money. Like, and also $8 million for Hall is a lot too. Like, he got paid in Buffalo. Like, and yeah, like, he's gonna put up a monster amount of points with Eichel probably. Like, there's always a chance he doesn't because it's Buffalo. And who knows? Eichel gets hurt, then it's over. I don't think Hall is gonna be able to lead a team anymore. So yeah, and obviously he doesn't think Buffalo's gonna win the Stanley Cup in a year, so he's not going there to win. He's not going there to win. He knows he's just gonna go there to put up some points, maybe make the playoffs, probably not though, and then get paid next offseason.
Yeah, he also has a no trade clause, which basically just means he controls where he goes.
Yeah.
Which I think is an addition to that deal. I wouldn't be shocked to see him get moved at the deadline.
Oh, for sure.
To a competitor.
Yeah.
Somebody like a Colorado, even.
Ooh,
could make
yeah.
some sense, or a team that's suffered an injury. You know, maybe if the Leafs, if Martin.
No, don't. Yeah. Knock on wood. Yeah. Yep.
There you go.
Yep.
Marner goes down with an injury. Maybe Leafs trade for Taylor Hall to be a replacement. But I think this deal makes a lot of sense for both sides. And at first, I laughed hysterically at it because he said he wanted to go to a winner and then chose Buffalo. But I think this deal makes some sense.
Yeah. Did you see his like introduction video on Instagram that the Sabres posted? Of him just like talking to the Sabres fans? Like, it's just, it's so cringy. Like, he's saying like, yeah, he's saying all these good things about Buffalo, but like, I know he doesn't mean it at all.
That's great.
Yeah.
Let's wrap up our free agent talk, and then we'll take a break from free agents, talk some trades, and other news, and wrap up with Toronto. Alex Pietrangelo signed 7 years, $8.8 million per, with a full no move clause with the Vegas Golden Knights. Good signing, bad signing. What are your thoughts on it?
I mean, it's not a bad signing. Like, they're getting the big fish in free agency, Alex Pietrangelo. They're over the cap a little bit right now, so they're gonna have to make some room. But like, look at their decor and look at their top two guys, Shea Theodore and Alex Pietrangelo. That's gonna cause a lot of problems. Vegas is probably the favorite to win the cup now, and you know, they re-signed Robin Leonard. They got most of their team coming back. I know they lost Nate Schmidt, but that's fine. They're going to be a very good team. And Pietrangelo got paid, I think, 8.8. Does that make him one of the highest paid defensemen in the league? Maybe. I think Carlson gets paid more than him, but that's still pretty good. So I like the deal. He's a very good defenseman. Like I said before, good two ways. He can play offense. He can quarterback your power play, but he can also be that, you know, go-to defenseman late in the game to shut it down. He can play on the penalty kill. He's the captain of St. Louis. This guy deserves to get paid. I love the signing for Vegas. It's going to be huge for them. They're trying to win now. They're trying to win ASAP. They're not satisfied with these last, is it 3 years or 4 years? I think it's 3 years, right? 3 years since joining the league. So they're going to be good. They're going to be really good, and they got a good one.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And you mentioned one of the players that they lost in Nate Schmidt, and he was traded same night they signed him because they had to. But he was traded to Vancouver for a third in 2022. That's a great deal for Vancouver.
Oh, yeah.
First of all. Second of all, I get why Vegas needed to move him to make room, and he's probably the most movable player they have. I don't know if I'd give him up, though.
How much was he making?
I think it was like 5.9.
Ooh, that is a lot, though. And he didn't have the best season as well. But I think like they felt comfortable doing it just because Shea Theodore took a big step up this year. And if you look at Vegas's inaugural season again, I've been making a lot of references to that. Nate Schmidt was their guy on defense. He was their number one defenseman, and he was quarterbacking their power play. And now Shea Theodore has developed into that role where he's the number one guy. And 5.9 for a guy who's playing on the second pair is borderline expensive. And who knows if Schmidt is can still put up the numbers that he did in that first year with Vegas. He wasn't really anything on the Capitals. I think he is getting paid a little bit too much, and Vegas had to move on from him. And it's a win. They got Pietrangelo. Like they could afford to lose a guy like Schmidt. It does. And Theodore's left-handed too. Schmidt's left-handed. I think it works out.
They also made a deal involving Paul Stastny, where he was shipped off to Winnipeg for a fourth and Carl Dahlstrom. Does that still make the Petro signing worth it for you?
Yeah, I don't think Schmidt is the same player that he was like back when he was on like Colorado, I guess. Like Stastny's not the best player. Sorry. Stastny's not the best player anymore. I think he's playing like third line minutes on Vegas. He's making a lot of money. I think they had to do it.
It's tough to lose your second line center and one of your top four defensemen, but
yeah,
Pietrangelo is very good. So
did you
just gotta wait.
Did you hear about Brendan Gallagher?
I did hear about Brendan Gallagher, but we'll get to that in a second in
Okay.
our other news segment.
Okay.
As in, he signed today? Wait a second.
Yeah, extension. He just signed
We're talking.
I don't know. He just signed a 6-year. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, 6-year extension.
$5 million per.
Correct. Yep. I think that's a little bit much. That's a lot for a Gallagher. Like, I know he's a fan favorite too, and he's probably gonna play on the first line, but I don't remember when he scored 30 goals last. And he's a winger. Like, he's more of like checking winger, and good around the net. I think that's a bit much. At first glance, that is a bit much in my opinion.
Yeah, well, it's weird that they just randomly agreed to a contract because this morning, contract talks had stalled. And they just weren't talking anymore.
Interesting.
And now it's 6:06, and they've agreed to a contract and announced it?
Yeah.
That's really weird.
Who reported that they weren't talking?
That was pretty widely reported, I think.
Okay.
It might have been... I can't remember who it was.
Okay. Yeah, that is weird. I guess, something happened today or...
Sorry to cut you off. Yeah, sorry to cut you off. Darren Dreger and Pierre LeBrun just tweeted. That was a very quick stalled talks period.
Yeah.
With closer and stalled talks from Dreger and LeBrun. The halt in negotiations didn't last long. So that's weird.
Interesting. Maybe they have something coming, potentially. Maybe they are working on a trade or something, or I don't know. I don't know why there would be a sudden change, but maybe the reporter just got it wrong as well. Maybe there was no halt.
Or maybe they just said, let's just get a deal done.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, just why not?
Yeah.
Cat Friendly doesn't have it in there yet, but oh no, they do. He'll be the second highest paid player behind Shea Weber on Montreal. Shea Weber and obviously Carey Price.
Yeah.
But they're gonna have to clear some money because they're currently over the cap.
Really? Wow.
Well, by 300K. So they send down one player, and they're not over the cap anymore.
Right.
But they also have Charles Hudon up for arbitration. So that'll be really interesting to see what Montreal does over the next few days and week.
I don't think Hudon will get paid too much. Just looking at Gallagher's stats, he's only had 2 years where he scored over 30 goals. And then his next highest was 24, but that was back in 2014. Last year, he only put up 22 goals. Oh, but that was in 59 games. But I still think it's a bit much. Assists, 24. So, and he's never cracked 60 points.
That's a bit much for a guy who hasn't cracked 60 points, but I think he brings more to the table than just points.
Oh, for sure.
And
Feistiness.
that's where that extra money comes from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it'll be interesting to see what Montreal does over the next few days. That's crazy that just broke. I thought you were addressing the fact that they reached a stalemate in their signings, and all of a sudden, hey, he's signed.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's crazy. What other? I don't think we'll spend much more time on trades. I think we should talk about the Devon Toews for 2 seconds to Colorado, and we'll touch on Ryan Murray trade, and Brendan Saad as well. We'll ignore Cliff Pu, Marcus Notavara, and Eric Goodbranson because we just will. So let's start with the one that happened most recently in Devon Toews for a 2021 second and a 2022 second. Toews is an RFA. He's 26. Very good defenseman. What do you think about the deal?
That's what I call a GM mode trade, or like a franchise mode trade. That's when you are desperately wanting a player, but you don't want to trade anyone from your roster, so you just give away your draft picks. And that's what they did. This is a GM mode trade. They just wanted Devon Toews. Here you go, 2 draft picks. That work? Here we go. We got him. And they got to sign him, but I mean, Colorado's just adding to their decor that was already deep. So now that Ryan Graves signing looks even worse because they got Toews. Now that Burakovsky signing looks bad, and that Nichushkin signing looks even worse. But in terms of Devon Toews, this guy can play on your top pair. Like, he was playing top pair minutes in New York. He was playing power play time, penalty kill time. This guy is really, really good. And I think it's a huge add for Colorado. They are so scary. I still can't believe they didn't make it to the Cup final last year. They are one of the best teams on paper, and I love their team. I love Devon Toews as a player.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a great trade for Colorado. The Islanders were caught between a rock and a hard place. They got to sign Barzal, they got to sign Pollock, and they got to sign Toews, and I think there's one other guy who they have to sign as well, who are all RFAs. So it was inevitable that one of them at least had to go, and ultimately it was Toews, which I guess that had to happen, and Colorado pounced on the opportunity to pick up a very good player. So their decor is nutty good, but yeah, it's a tough loss for the Islanders.
Yep.
Let's continue with defensemen. Actually, talk Columbus, New Jersey, because Ryan Murray got dealt for a 2021 fifth rounder. It's his final year of his contract. Devils are taking full salary and cap hit of Murray. My big question is, why would Columbus do this? Now, obviously, they do have Pierre-Luc Dubois expired. He's currently an RFA, so potentially protecting from an offer sheet. But why would Columbus make this trade?
Yeah, I don't know. Especially for a 5th round pick too. Like, I thought they could have gotten maybe a prospect and a higher pick for Ryan Murray. I think maybe they just don't like him. Maybe their relationship just hasn't been what they thought it was going to be. The player that they once drafted isn't, what they lived up to be. And they just felt it was time to move on. I think it is similar to the Devon Toews thing, where you got to sign these other guys, and you're probably not going to keep this guy. Might as well just get something for him and just make it quick so you can turn your attention to the guys that you have to sign in Dubois. So it could have been that. But at the same time, I think they could have gotten a lot more for him.
Yeah, I agree. I think I should have gotten more for him. It's a weird trade overall. But we'll finish off a little trade talk before we get into general news and then wrap up with Toronto. Because we need to.
Yeah.
Wrap up. We've been going for like 2 hours. But yeah, let's wrap up with where is it? I've lost this. Where is the
What do you look
there
at?
it is.
Trades?
Brendan Saad. Brendan Saad, $1 million retained, and Dennis Gilbert for Nikita Zadorov and Anton Lindholm.
He went to Colorado
What do you think
too?
about this deal?
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Jeez, Colorado. I know Zadorov is a big loss, but you can replace him with Devin Taves now. And so the trade is basically Taves and Saad for Zadorov. That's pretty good. That's very good. So and Brandon Saad wasn't really working out in Chicago, I guess. And they felt they could move on from him. He has the cup experience still. He can still score 20 goals a year. Colorado's just so good. I love their team. Saad will probably play on the second line, I guess, alongside of Nazem Kadri. But now, if Landeskog or Rantanen gets hurt, then they have a guy who can play alongside of McKinnon and can fit right in because Saad was playing with Jonathan Taves in Chicago. So I like it. I like it a lot. They're making a lot of good moves. Joe Sakic's done a great job with them.
Fully agree. Fully agree. But let's move on to just some general NHL news. Justin Williams retired again, although I feel like this time it's probably for good. But crazy good career for him. He won at least one Stanley Cup and very good player. So congrats on a good career to him. So what other news do we have to touch on? Let's go with. We'll finish off with the Toronto little aspects of this, but opening this season on Lake Louise. There are rumors that the NHL have had internal discussions about starting the season on Lake Louise, the lake in Alberta that's absolutely gorgeous, would be unbelievable, and the coolest thing ever, period. Would you like to see this, or would you rather them open it in an arena?
I would love to see that. Make the game Edmonton and Calgary, please, and then that'd be amazing. So, I love that idea. I've heard it's really nice. Never been to Alberta, so haven't seen it in person, but I'm pretty sure it's in like one of their big national parks there. So yeah, I mean, sure, I like the idea. Something unique. I'm sure it's gonna draw a lot of eyes to it. Be a cool experience for the players. And maybe there's fans potentially. If it's outside, they could maybe have some fans in attendance.
Eventually, I sort of threw that idea out as well when I saw it. But yeah, it'd be really interesting to see what it would look like and how they'd set it all up. And I have been there, and it's very, very nice. Although I was only there in the summer, it'd be the coolest thing ever. Just honestly, the coolest thing ever.
Mm-hmm.
But let's keep firing through everything. Go with Vegas. Kelly McCrimmon, who's the GM of the Golden Knights, is claiming that Flower, Marc-Andre Fleury, and Robin Lehner are going to be a tandem next season.
Fleury's gonna ask for a trade.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think Fleury wants to be a part of that. I think I think he's still the number one, and I think that he knows that he's still a number one goaltender. I don't think he likes the idea of a tandem. So, I mean, Vegas would be lethal if they kept both of them, because if someone goes down with an injury, they have a stud coming in right behind them. But I don't think Fleury likes that idea, and I expect Vegas to trade him this offseason.
The issue with that is they've already tried to trade him, and they can't even package anything with him in order to trade him.
I think there's got to be a team that would want him. Some team has to want a goalie, and I think he has a no-trade clause too, right? A limited no-trade clause?
I'm not sure, actually.
Well,
I think so. I think it's like 15?
Yeah, exactly. So I think maybe Vegas was trying to, trade him to one of the teams that he would want to go to. But then I think Fleury's going to have to alter that list a little bit, and put some teams on there that actually need goaltender help, and then he'll get traded. I don't see Fleury starting the season on Vegas.
I do.
Okay.
10-team no trade list. But the reason I do is apparently Robin Lehner needs shoulder surgery, so there is potential that Fleury might have to start the season for them. Apparently he's supposed to be ready for the start of the season, but there are no guarantees, and I could see Fleury wanting to stick around to try to get another cup, and the tax situation there is pretty ideal.
Yeah, true.
So I think he stays there to collect his money, and I don't think he leaves.
Okay.
Personally.
All right.
But
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see what happens.
I mean, yeah, potentially he could also just think that okay, if I stay for one more year in Las Vegas, maybe we win the cup, and then I'll go off to Seattle and play with actually no, he might play with Braden Holtby then. He wouldn't want that either. So I don't know. I hope everything works out for Fleury. I still think he's a number one goaltender on any team. And maybe he becomes the clear number one goaltender in Vegas still. Maybe he beats Robin Lehner for the job there.
Possible.
Yeah.
It's always possible. But let's talk
Leafs. All right.
Held this off to the end so that we can finally get into all this stuff, fun stuff. But we'll start off with the latest rumors, the newest rumors that started off on the Steve Dangle podcast, thanks to Chris Johnson, and then sort of expanded after James Myrtle picked it up, and I believe some other insiders picked it up as well. But there are rumors Joe Thornton and the Leafs have had discussions about a contract.
Yes. Yep, I think there was a report today. I think LeBrun said that Sheldon Keefe and Kyle Dubas have both talked to him, and it's between the Leafs and the Sharks to land him. I think, it's obviously going to take a lot for Thornton to leave San Jose. He's so attached to them. He's been there for so long. It's like the Marleau thing, right? But I do see Thornton really considering it. Like, the Leafs are a lot closer to winning than San Jose is, and I think also the fact that players are actually reaching out to him as well will influence his decision to hopefully come here. I think he would be perfect. I love him. I think he's going to be great if he does come here. Probably a fourth line center. But he can also play third line, potentially, if they move on from Kerfoot. But just most importantly, like, who cares about his on-ice stuff? Like, he has so much NHL experience. He's the captain in the past. He's just great. He'd be a great fit for Toronto, and I think that just makes them a true Stanley Cup contender. Like, we'll talk about the other guys that they got, but they've been adding a lot of veterans and guys with a lot of experience so far this free agency. If they get Joe Thornton, like, I'll probably, like, in my opinion, they'd be the closest to winning a Stanley Cup that they'd ever been in the Matthews era so far.
Potentially, yeah, I could see that. I could agree with that. Uh, Big thing with Thornton is I think he'd be an amazing addition to the second power play unit as sort of the quarterback for that. Playing in that Marner role because he's such a good passer. But I'd like to see him on the Leafs, and I hope this turns into something. But this is just the beginning stages, so we're still waiting to hear how far this goes and what else happens. But one of the other additions that they made was Zach Bogosian, which signed him to a 1-year, $1 million contract. But the reason I have him in other news, because we have to address this as well, is that he almost met with the Leafs back in March, but Kyle Dubas canceled the meeting because it was 12 hours before it was supposed to happen. The David Ayers game happened.
Yeah.
So Dubas canceled the meeting, and Bogosian didn't sign with the Leafs. It's interesting that he's now agreed to a contract with us. Do you like the contract, first of all?
Oh, I love it. I love Zach Bogosian. That's what I've been saying on this podcast for like the past 2 years. The Leafs need defensive defensemen, and Zach Bogosian is the definition of that. So I love the signing. He's got to play, probably the bottom pair, but he's going to be in your face. He's going to be playing on the penalty kill. Now the Leafs have 4 guys who can actually kill penalties. TJ Brody, Jake Muzzin, Bogosian now, and Justin Hall. But even if they move on from Hall, they could bring in a guy if they bring in Mackenzie Weegar, he kills penalties. So that's 4 guys that are solid at killing penalties, and then Riley is your 5th guy who is also decent at it as well. So yeah, I really like it. And then he was such a big part of the Tampa Bay Lightning's run this past year. He's going to be a good locker room guy. I know Matthews and Marner and Nylander just love this move too. Their teams aren't going to be pushing them around anymore, knowing that Bogosian is there and Simmons is there. So it's a great signing. I love what Kyle's been doing so far this offseason.
The issue I have with it is he's not very good.
Okay. What's he not good? He's not good at skating. He's not good at getting the puck up the ice. He's not good at shooting or passing, but he's good at defense. He's good at hitting people. He's good at clearing bodies out in front of the net. And I think the Leafs need that, and they don't need more of what he's lacking, if that makes sense. Right?
I agree, but he's just not very good. I'm worried that I think he's just going to be another Roman Polak.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with Roman Polak. Yeah, I'm okay with Roman Polak, to be honest. If he's Roman Polak, so be it. I don't mind that. I think that's what they need, to be honest.
I also worry about the fact that he's probably going to push guys out of... He could, potentially, push guys out of the lineup.
I'm okay with that, too. I'm on the complete other side right now. If he pushes Travis Dermott out of the lineup... Because I don't like Travis Dermott. I don't think...
What?
that was very loud.
It should be.
And I can't turn my volume down. That scared me a little bit.
I will turn my volume up, sir. You do not slander Travis Dermott.
I don't like Travis Dermott. They have too many of those guys. So yeah, if he pushes Dermott out, or if he pushes Dermott out of town, I won't be mad.
I don't like. We're never gonna see eye to eye on this, and I'm too tired to debate you.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm tired of talking to debate you.
All right.
I don't like it personally.
You don't like the Bogosian signing?
No.
What? Okay. No. We needed him. Trust me. You're gonna love him.
You got Wade Simmons. Why did you need someone to do that on the
On
back end?
because we need that. We need a guy who can kill penalties on the back end. We need someone who can.
You have Jake Muzzin and TJ Brody already. Justin Hall can kill.
TJ Brody isn't the biggest body. He's good like defensively and like pass breakups. But he's not gonna move someone. We need someone to move someone. We have Muzzin and Bogosian now.
Hall.
I don't know. I don't know about Hall. I'm not sure yet. Hall didn't work out last year on the penalty kill, especially. He wasn't good enough. I think we needed Bogosian, and also the like what's the harm? It's $1 million, right? It's $1 million. It's not that bad.
That's why I'm not incredibly angry or disappointed with the deal. Like I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of it, but I'm also like, okay, whatever. It's a mill. They can bury him if they want to.
I'm telling you that if the Leafs want to win a Stanley Cup, they need guys like this, though. Like Travis Dermott and like Rasmus Sandin, Timothy Liljegren, if they make the lineup, I don't think they're as good as what it could have been if like Bogosian was in if Bogosian was in the lineup. They need guys like this to win.
You need guys who can actually skate and play the puck.
Trust me. For the playoffs, especially if you want to win in the playoffs, you need these guys. So it's a win. I don't think you can look at this as a loss. If Bogosian doesn't play well during the regular season, he doesn't have to play during the regular season. You can put Dermott in, or you can put Sandin in if you need more offense. But when it comes to the playoffs, like Zach Bogosian is the perfect fit. They need him.
Okay, so here are the guarantees in the top 3. Okay, 3 guarantees. Jake Muzzin, Morgan Rielly, TJ Brody.
Yeah, I agree.
Those are pretty much guarantees that they're going to be back next season and will be in the lineup. Agreed?
Yeah.
That then leaves Justin Hall, Zach Bogosian, Rasmus Sandin, Timothy Liljegren, Travis Dermott, and
Mikko Lehtinen.
What's his name? Mikko Lehtinen. Thank you. So, ideally, you have Dermott in, because he's good. He's 23. He's still young.
Yeah.
Still developing. Ideally, you have him in. Yari, or is it Yari? Why am I blank? Mikko Lehtinen.
Yeah.
Chris Johnson said the people he's talked to in Europe say this guy's a top 4 defenseman.
Yeah, he's good.
So he's in the lineup.
Yep.
Which leaves you one spot for Zach Bogosian, Rasmus Sandin, or Justin Hall.
No, that's no, just one spot for. Sorry, who is it? It's. Oh yeah, you're right. Sorry, you're right. Yep.
So, are you playing Justin Hall, or are you playing Zach Bogosian?
I would play Zach Bogosian. I think they move on from either Dermott or Hall though, and maybe even a package deal that involves Alexander Kerfoot, and they find a new third line center. They find someone who's better than Kerfoot, because Kerfoot is. I don't want to flip-flop conversations here, but I don't think Kerfoot is a center. I think he's better off on the wing. And if you can trade him and Hall for someone better, I would do it.
I'd agree. I'd like to see them involve some sort of package like that for Mackenzie Weegar, who was apparently offered to the Leafs for Andreas Johnsson and Travis Dermott, but Toronto said no.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
I would accepted that trade.
I would have been okay with that, yeah, because the trade is basically like the way I would look at it is Travis Dermott's not going to be on my team next year. He doesn't have a contract, and he's probably not good enough to make the lineup in my eyes. So the trade is just basically Johnsson for Weegar, and I'm okay with that. Yeah, I would do the trade.
Well, I think you are massively underrating Travis Dermott. His advanced metrics are really, really good. I don't think you're giving him enough credit.
Okay, I mean I am basing it off of the eye test and what I know what I know he is capable of as a player and what his playing style is. I'm not basing it off of like the analytics or his advanced numbers. I'm strictly basing it off of the eye test, and I think that I still respect Dermott enough that he would have some trade value in a trade if we trade him.
Okay, well, I think we need to move on from that conversation.
Okay.
We finish up the Leaf signings, and we have been going for how long?
2.5
20 minutes.
Yeah.
25 minutes. So we got to get through Brody, Simmons, Travis Boyd. We've already talked Bogosian, Jimmy Vesey, and Aaron Dell. So let's start from bad and get to best. So Travis Boyd, 1 year, league man. You have anything you want to say about him?
I mean, I don't know too much. I know he's bad on face-offs, and that's a problem. But he's making literally nothing, so I guess it's okay.
All right. Let's go Aaron Dell. 1 year, $800K with the Leafs. He's just their number 3. It's a very good number 3 to have.
Yeah, I like the signing a lot. No, it's a great signing. You need that third guy. 800K is nothing. If Freddie gets hurt or if Campbell gets hurt, then he's a guy who can come in and win you a hockey game.
Exactly. Jimmy Vesey, 1 year, $900K.
I think he's going to be a healthy scratch. I don't see him making the team. I think even like Barabanov will beat him out. So yeah, I mean I like the signing. I like VC, and he's a good guy to come into the lineup if someone gets hurt. But I don't see him making the team if everyone's healthy.
I see him as being an option or being that second line winger if Ilya Mikheyev doesn't come back.
Yeah, I see that too. But if the team is like loaded, if we're set, if we have everyone and we're healthy, then I think he's out of the lineup.
I still think he makes the lineup. I don't think he can take him out personally.
Hold on. I have my lineup here. I wrote it down. So if everyone is healthy and signed, I got Hyman, Matthews, Marner as the top line. Then I would have Mikheyev, Tavares, and Nylander. And then the third line I would have Robertson, Kerfoot, and Barabanov. And then the fourth line I would have Spezza, Engvall, and Simmons, which I think is pretty good.
Yeah, that's not bad. I'm not sure Engvall will be on the team.
Yeah, true.
Next season.
That would be my only flaw, and also maybe Kerfoot. I think they just got to find two better centers there, and then they're pretty good on paper still. Like they got a stacked offense, but there's definitely some improvements that could be made.
I think there are definitely still changes to come though, 100%.
Good, I hope so.
And the Leafs are not finished. Chris Johnson said it. James Myrtle said it. This team isn't done. They're going to make more moves.
Good.
And it's only a matter of time before they do. Wayne Simmons, you just mentioned him, signed a 1 year, $1.5 million deal with the Leafs. Montreal offered him more, but he chose Toronto. It sounds like he'll wear number 24, I believe.
Yes, Kapanen's old number.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You like this signing?
Oh, I love the signing. Like, yeah, that's what we need. We need more of that grit, physicality, etc. Been around the league for a long time, gonna provide experience. And he can still play hockey too. He can still bang in 15 goals. He can play up and down the lineup. He can play on the power play, kill penalties. He's the perfect guy.
Yeah, hopefully he gets back to where he was previously, because last season was not very good. But
No.
he was also on New Jersey and he was on Buffalo. Yeah, so hopefully he's in a better situation here, but we'll have to wait and see. But final signing we'll talk about before we talk about the one trade the Leafs made, and then take off with our hot takes is TJ Brody signed a 4-year, $5 million per, so $20 million deal. The Leafs. He has the same no trade, no move protections as Jake Muzzin, which varied in scale year over year. He doesn't have to be protected in the expansion draft, although I assume he does get protected based on the fact that he's good. And he will wear number 78 with the Leafs, which
What?
no other player in
78?
the history. Yes.
I did.
No other player
Oh gosh, it's not good already,
No.
Connor.
No other player in the history of the Toronto Maple Leafs have ever worn that number.
Why? Was he? No, he's not born in that year. But what? That is
No one's
odd.
ever worn that number before, so why not? Like,
I
he's the only
guess
guy to ever wear it. It's kind of sick,
that
isn't it?
yeah, you're right. That is pretty sick. I don't know though. Like, it reminds me a lot of Tyson Berry's jersey number choice, 94, and that didn't work out so well. So, yeah,
I don't know. I like that he's going out on a limb and he's trying to make a name for himself and become the best number 78 in Leafs history.
true. Yeah.
I think that's really cool.
Okay.
But you like the signing?
Oh, yeah, it's a great signing. Huge signing. He can play the right side. Finally, Riley has a good defensive partner. Let's hope he stays healthy, knock on wood. And, yeah, he's going to be a good piece.
Fully agree as the Toronto FC lineup comes out because we're now like 40. I think they played 7:30 tonight, so we have half an hour. Yeah. So final thing we need to talk about in terms of Leafs is the Toronto New Jersey trade. Andreas Johnsson was traded for Joey Anderson. It was a definite cap dump by the Leafs, but apparently this kid who's 22, he's currently an RFA, but he's ineligible. Like, he isn't eligible for any sort of offer sheets. Apparently he's pretty decent. He's a bit of a feisty guy. Rachel Dory put out a little tweet thread, which you can go and check out on her Twitter just after the trade happened, of who Joey Anderson is, and he sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Sounds like he could be very good. He was the captain of the
U.S.
World
team.
Juniors team.
Yep.
Yeah, U.S. World Junior team. So it's not a terrible return considering this is mostly a cap dump.
Yeah, I don't think it's that bad. I still think they could have gotten more for Janssen, but yeah, like you said, it's a cap dump and low risk, high reward on Anderson. He's more defensive, which is what they need. Another winger, which I'm not sure if that's what they need, but he seems okay. I think over an 82 game season, I think he would have averaged more goals than Janssen did last year. So that's a bright spot, I guess, to look at. I'm sure he's not really going to be anything next year for the Leafs, but maybe in a couple years he's a fourth line guy, maybe even third line. So yeah, let's hope he's good.
I have seen some people saying that he could potentially start with the Leafs this season.
Really? Who comes out of the lineup though?
I believe most people had Barabanov coming out of the lineup.
Barabanov, yeah. I think he's going to be a dark horse, though. I think he's going to be pretty good. Like, from just watching like the highlights of him on YouTube from the KHL, he has hands. He knows how to drive to the net, and he has tremendous passing ability. So I think it's going to be tough to get him out of the lineup. I think maybe the only way I could see him coming out is if the Leafs don't trust him enough in the defensive zone, in their own zone, and they decide to go a bit safer and they put in Anderson or Jimmy Vesey.
Jimmy Vesey is not good defensively, so it will not be Jimmy Vesey. I can guarantee you that. His defensive metrics are very, very bad. But with that, we've come to the end of our show. I don't believe there's anything else we need to talk about in terms of hockey, because we've spent an hour and a half or 2 hours talking strictly hockey.
Yeah.
This has been one of our longest shows, and probably the longest we've gone straight of just doing talking. We're sitting at 2.5 hours, 2:35 about, but we got to do our hot takes and then finally take us out. So if you have listened to this entire period, thank you. We really appreciate it.
Yep.
I don't know how you did that, because
Yeah.
there were some segments that were definitely misses, but we appreciate you sticking around. So we'll wrap up with hot takes. Do you have one prepared?
Yes. I'm checking the baseball scores right now. It's 11-0 Dodgers against the Braves in the first inning. And
Wow, what?
yeah, first inning.
Josh and Drew, I'm sorry, boys. Yikes.
Josh and Drew?
Those are, I should mention, yeah, without context, nobody knows who that is. Those are the two guys who I do my MLS podcast with.
Oh, and they're from
They're
Atlanta?
both from Atlanta, so they're big Atlanta fans.
Okay.
But
Well,
yeah. By the way, if you haven't listened to the MLS Multiplex podcast, please do. We were just picked up by Fansided, so we're officially with them as opposed to on our own. We would appreciate you listening, but
nice. That's
I
sick.
will let you. Thank you. I'll let you say your hot take of the day as I try to come up with mine.
Okay. So I'm going to say Atlanta's going to come back in this game. I think Atlanta will beat the Dodgers, and they will come back from 11-0 down, and they will take a 3-0 series lead against the Dodgers in the NLCS. And also, while I'm at it, this is not a hot take, but I'll say the Rays will end their series tonight with the Astros, and they will sweep them. And Instagram will be flooded with memes of Carlos Correa, Jose Altuve, Springer, Bregman, all of those guys, with trash cans probably. And it's definitely going to be embarrassing if they get swept by the Tampa Bay Rays tonight. But I think it's going to happen.
Going to be a great feeling watching them lose.
Yep.
But my hot take, I think we have to make it hockey related because that was 90% of our show today.
True.
So, my hot take. The Toronto Maple Leafs win a round next season.
That's not a hot take. Come on. Come on.
Right.
And you've made that hot take before. You said it Yeah, I remember. You said it last year. You said they were going to win a round this year.
Oh, that was a hot take then because they didn't.
Yeah.
What should I make my hot take? I can't say Colorado will win the cup because I've done that before. This is tough. It's got to be hockey.
You could have said the Leafs would win the cup next year.
I don't want to say that though.
Okay, I've said it. maybe I shouldn't say that anymore.
That's also a reason I don't want to say it.
Yeah.
Here's one. Joe Thornton will be a Toronto Maple Leaf.
Okay. Yeah, I like that one.
That's a little spicy.
Yeah, that's good.
Not quite ghost pepper, but it's Frank's Red Hot. There's some tinge there.
Yeah.
So after that, very interesting hot sauce reference. We leave you.
Yeah.
And we say thank you. Thanks for listening. Thank you for tuning in to our first ever live stream, even though my audio may not be the best right now. We are still figuring out just how all of this stuff works.
Mm-hmm.
But we appreciate you listening. And we'll be back next week at 3 o'clock on spiritlive.ca. But we will also be on YouTube, where we will continue our show after our radio time is up on Spirit Live, so you can come out and check that out. You can check me out on Twitter at CWG Somerville. You can check Aiden out
at
Instagram.
Yeah, at Aiden Silliphant on Instagram. I might start tweeting. I think you can follow me at Aiden Silliphant on Twitter as well. Follow at Unlimited Pod on Instagram. Just did a podcast with one of my friends who plays college baseball in the U.S. So he has a lot to say about that. He had a couple hot takes in there about the Jays and Leafs as well, so check that out. And yeah, that's it. Make sure you guys subscribe to this YouTube channel as well, because we will be doing a lot more live streams. So check that out. Turn on your post notification so you get notified that we're going live as well.
Hit the bell down below. Leave us a like. Share this live stream and video with as many people as you can. As I mentioned, you can check me out on Twitter at CWG Somerville. You can check out the MLS Multiplex podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It's just at the MLS Multiplex podcast. No space between MLS and Multiplex. You can check out my written work at MLS Multiplex as well, and check out all of the other contributors who write for them, including Josh and Drew, who I just shouted out there and mentioned earlier. But yeah, subscribe to this YouTube channel. Share this YouTube video. Tell people about us. Tweet at us.
Anything.
Anything. Do anything.
I think we got two.
Next week.
I think we got 2 people still listening, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 2 people still watching. So shout out to you guys for listening to the end of this.
If it's even people and not just us.
It's not. Well, it's not me. So yeah.
Okay, so
at least one.
At least one. Thank you for listening. If you didn't just mute it and leave it on so that we feel good about ourselves.
Yeah.
We appreciate it either way. But we'll be back next week. This has been the longest outro
Yep.
of all time.
All right. See ya. Yep.
Yeah, but we'll see you next week.